the worlds of the heavens starting with Game of Thrones. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 226, Forgotten in the Jianghu. As expected by Xia Changqing, he met the father and daughter of the Qi family at the place where he first met them. The only difference from when Xia Changqing first met them 2 months ago was that Keely was now waving a long sword with a cold glow in her hand, dancing with one hand, attracting cheers from the surrounding crowd from time to time. Rewards were gradually gathered in the hands of Old Man Qi, which made Old Man Qi smile. To be honest, it was not known whether it was sad that a generation of leaders had ended up like Old Man Qi, but in Xia Changqing's opinion, relying on this method, at least the father and daughter of the Qi family would not starve. When some money was saved, Keely would find a good family to marry, and Old Man Qi would be responsible for her retirement. This kind of life away from the disputes in the rivers and lakes was also very good. Although Xia Valley seemed to be a good place to live in seclusion, the leader Wuxiazi did nothing all day and only grew flowers and grass. But with the traitor Zuan Mingzi, Xia Valley was destined not to get the peace that Wuxiazi wanted. Xia Changqing stood outside the crowd, quietly watching Keely wielding a set of nameless sword techniques in a very decent manner, and she had already mastered it. Xia Changqing nodded in appreciation, and it was obvious that Keely had put in a lot of effort during the time he was away. In this case, there was no need for him to disturb the peaceful life of the Qi family father and daughter. The road is long, and we will meet again, if we are destined to. On the stage, Keely stopped the sword dance, slowly exhaled to end the exercise, and looked thoughtfully at a figure walking away outside the crowd. Father Qi made a lot of money and happily came to his daughter's side to show her what they had gained today. But his daughter seemed to be worried, and her eyes were blankly looking at the crowd below the stage. Leah, the performance is over. What are you looking at? Father Qi couldn't help but ask curiously. His daughter's state was a little too strange. Keely hesitated for a moment, but couldn't help looking at Old Man Qi. Dad, I think I saw Brother Xia's back. Where is Xia? Where is he? When Old Man Qi heard this, a trace of anger appeared on his face. He leaned his head and looked in the direction Keely was looking. Is that kid back? How dare he disappear for such a long time? I want to ask him if he cheated our baseball boxing and didn't intend to fulfill his promise. But Old Man Qi stretched his head to observe the crowd, but still didn't see Xia Changqing's shadow. He couldn't help asking, daughter, did you see it wrong? Where is the shadow of Xia Changqing? Keely sighed in her heart with a sense of loss and said in a light tone, Dad, don't look for it. Maybe my daughter saw it wrong. But, Brother Xia, where are you? Are you doing well now? Xia Changqing, who had already left and went to Dongcheng district, naturally couldn't know what Keely was thinking, but even if he knew, he might not show up. It is better to forget each other than to help each other in times of adversity. Xia Changqing could not feel at ease to do something that was destined to have no good results. Maybe when Keely finds out from somewhere else that Xia Changqing joined Xia Valley, she will call him a scumbag and then devote herself to a new life. Of course, there is also a great possibility that with Keely's character, she will bless Xia Changqing and then the two will never meet again. Xia Changqing had returned to the yard he rented in Luoyang at this time. Changqing, why did you come back? Aunt Wang shouted in surprise after seeing Xia Changqing. She looked Xia Changqing up and down and couldn't help but complained. You are really, this trip took more than a month. It's too hard. Xia Changqing felt a little comforted. He didn't expect Aunt Wang to care about him so much. The corners of his mouth rose slightly and he drew a warm smile. Auntie Wang, I'm sorry to have worried you. I won't do that anymore. I've already resigned from Changhang Escort Agency. Ah. Auntie Wang was immediately shocked. She asked quickly, why did you quit for no reason? Changqing, let me tell you, young man, it's okay to be bullied. Are the old people in the escort agency ostracizing you? Listen to me, this kind of thing will pass, if you just bear with it. Auntie Wang was just concerned about how hard it was for Xia Changqing to be away from home for such a long time. Now, after hearing that he was quitting, she hurriedly tried to dissuade him. It's not easy for young people to find a job now, and Changhang Escort Agency is so famous in our Luoyang city. Take our neighbors nearby for example. Many guys have tried their best to get in, but they can't. Changqing, don't give up such a good job just because you're angry. Auntie Wang spoke from the bottom of her heart. These words sounded a bit nagging to others, but they sounded particularly warm to Xia Changqing's ears. Auntie Wang, don't worry. I didn't just quit Changhang Escort Agency. I just found a better place. Now I'm a disciple of Senior Wuxiazi in Xiaoyao Valley. I'll go to Xiaoyao Valley to study in the future. Xia Changqing explained to Auntie Wang very patiently. After hearing this, Auntie Wang breathed a sigh of relief. She frowned slightly. Wuxiazi, are you talking about the old immortal Wuxiazi? As if she remembered who Wuxiazi was, Auntie Wang was happy for Xia Changqing again. Xia Changqing didn't expect that Wuxiazi, who had always lived in seclusion in Xiaoyao Valley, would have such a big reputation in Luoyang City and even get the title of an old immortal. After getting a very definite answer, Auntie Wang excitedly told Xia Changqing that he must study hard with the old immortal Wuxiazi, and he will definitely become a great hero in the future. Thank you for your good words, Xia Changqing said with a smile. He knew that the old man was completely kind. But after being happy for a long time, Aunt Wang suddenly remembered something and asked quickly, Changqing, since you are going to follow the old immortal Wuxiazi to learn martial arts, then you will not rent my house anymore? Come back with me later, and I will refund the remaining rent to you. It turned out to be this matter. Xia Changqing waved his hands quickly. No, Aunt Wang, just consider that the money is my filial piety to you, and the furnishings and supplies in this house will also be left to you. After I leave, you can rent it to the next user and get more rent, right? How can this be? How can this be? Aunt Wang waved her hands to refuse. She was a simple person and did not intend to take advantage of Xia Changqing. Chapter 227 Settling Xiao Wu. Xia Changqing smiled and comforted Aunt Wang, finally letting her accept his kindness. For Xia Changqing, money and other things were not of much use to him. In this case, it would be better to leave them directly to Aunt Wang, so that the old lady who lived alone could live a better life. After much persuasion, Aunt Wang, who was successfully persuaded by Xia Changqing, remembered something when she was about to leave. Changqing, there is one thing I almost forgot. I'm old and my memory is not good. Aunt Wang patted her forehead and said with some annoyance, during the days you were away, I saw Xiao Wu coming here to find you every day. If you really plan to leave, you should go and see Xiao Wu before you leave. Xiao Wu? Xia Changqing nodded at Aunt Wang. He would naturally not forget Xiao Wu. After learning where Xiao Wu's home was from Aunt Wang, he walked over. At this time, Xia Changqing suddenly remembered that he had known Xiao Wu for such a long time, but he still didn't know where Xiao Wu's home was. Xiao Wu's home is far from being comparable to Aunt Wang's. After all, Aunt Wang has a son who is in some sect. Standing in front of a tattered wooden door, Xia Changqing went forward and knocked on the gate. Who is it? An old voice sounded. Xiao Wu, go see who is knocking on the door. Got it, mother. Xiao Wu's clear voice also sounded, followed by the sound of quick footsteps. Xiao Wu opened the door of his own home, and then a look of surprise appeared on his face. Master, you are back. Xiao Wu shouted in surprise. It seemed that Xiao Wu's startled movement was heard. Xiao Wu, who is here? Mom, it's my master. Xiao Wu shouted happily, and at the same time, said to Xia Changqing, Master, please come in quickly. My mother is cooking. Have you eaten? Eat at my house. Xia Changqing could see that Xiao Wu was really happy after seeing him. Xia Changqing followed Xiao Wu into the courtyard. It was most appropriate to describe Xiao Wu's home as barely furnished. Xiao Wu's mother was also a simple person. She welcomed Xia Changqing's arrival very much, but she was not good at speaking. She could only ask Xia Changqing to drink water and eat. Xia Changqing finally had a meal at Xiao Wu's house, and he also learned about Xiao Wu's life experience. Children from poor families like Xiao Wu are not uncommon in this world, but Xiao Wu was lucky to meet Xia Changqing. Xiao Wu, what are your plans for the future? Xia Changqing asked after the meal. Of course, I will learn martial arts from my master and become a great hero like senior Xiao Zami in the future, Xiao Wu said with confidence. But Xia Changqing shook his head slowly. This immediately made Xiao Wu's face panic. Master, did I say something wrong? It's not easy to be a hero. Of course, if you have such an ideal, I won't say anything. It's just that I'm leaving Luoyang City soon, Xia Changqing said slowly. Although Xiaoyao Valley is not far from Luoyang City, when Xia Changqing enters Xiaoyao Valley, he will definitely not have so much time to teach Xiao Wu. Since Xiao Wu has always called him master, although he has never admitted it, arranging a good place for Xiao Wu before leaving is also something he must do. Leaving Luoyang? Xiao Wu immediately asked in surprise. Are you going to escort? No, Xiao Wu, I'm no longer in Changhang Escort Agency. I don't know when I can come back after leaving Luoyang this time. Seeing Xiao Wu's gradually pale face, Xia Changqing couldn't help but said directly, I'm destined to have no time to teach you. But I will recommend you to join Changhang Escort Agency and find a good master for you. Joining Changhang Escort Agency is also what you have always dreamed of, isn't it? Xiao Wu lowered his head slightly, and his voice was slightly choked. Master, are you not going to bring me with you? I don't want to go to Changhang Escort Agency now. I want to go with you. Xia Changqing frowned slightly, and his voice became a little cold and hard. If you think so, then I'm really disappointed. Xiao Wu, of course you can go with me, but have you ever thought about it? If you go with me, what will happen to your mother? Do you want to leave her alone to live in Luoyang City? Xia Changqing's urgent rebuke made Xiao Wu's face pale. As the saying goes, if your parents are still alive, you should not travel far away. Even if you will become a hero in the future, you must respect your mother well. After Xia Changqing's scolding, the room was quiet. Xiao Wu's mother opened her mouth, wanting to say something but stopping. On the one hand, she was reluctant to let Xiao Wu leave her, and on the other hand, she didn't want Xiao Wu to be trapped in Luoyang City without a good future. Master, I know, you are right. No matter whether I can become a hero in the future, I will not leave my mother. After a moment, Xiao Wu raised his head with red eyes, but his face was firm, and he had obviously made up his mind. Xiao Wu felt that, if he dared to say that he would follow Xia Changqing and leave regardless of his mother, then the fate between him and Xia Changqing would really run out. Master, I will join Changhang Escort Agency, start as a porter, earn more money, and let my mother live a good life. This is what Xia Changqing thought of and heard. Xia Changqing, who could not personally support his parents, envied Xiao Wu in his heart. After all, Xiao Wu still had his mother by his side. Afterwards, Xia Changqing took Xiao Wu to Changhang Escort Agency and found Feng Biaotao. It was just a small matter to become a porter, so there was no need to bother Guan Changhang. Moreover, Xia Changqing and Feng Biaotao had a closer relationship. Feng Biaotao, this kid is half of my apprentice. He is also from Luoyang City and wants to join Changhang Escort Agency and become a porter. After seeing Feng Biaotao, Xia Changqing said straight to the point. Feng Biaotao agreed without saying a word. Now that Xia Changqing has become Wuxia's apprentice, his status is very different. For these escorts who travel around the world, the most important thing is to make friends. So even if Xia Changqing did not leave their Changhang Escort Agency, this matter would not be a difficult matter. Just based on the identity of a disciple of Xiaoyao Valley, it is worth this face. So in Xiao Wu's view, joining Changhang Escort Agency, an extremely difficult matter, has been accomplished with a few words from Xia Changqing. In that case, Captain Feng, Xiao Wu is in your hands. Xia Changqing clasped his fists to Captain Feng, as if he owed him a favor. Chapter 228 Second Brother. After settling Xiao Wu, Xia Changqing didn't want to see the crying child, so he threw Xiao Wu to Feng Biaotao and left the courtyard. After walking out of Feng Biaotao's courtyard, Xia Changqing met Guan Wei with intersteps. I heard that you came to the escort agency. Are you looking for me to go back to Xiaoyao Valley together? Guan Wei walked up to him and asked directly. Xia Changqing stood still and shook his head, answering Guan Wei's question. Your family is in Luoyang City, not far from Xiaoyao Valley. Why do you have to settle down in Xiaoyao Valley like me? It's my father's idea. My father said that it is a blessing for our Guan family to be able to worship senior Wuxiazi as a teacher. Naturally, we can't act recklessly. If all of you stay in Xiaoyao Valley and I don't go, Master will inevitably have some grudges in his heart. Xia Changqing retorted, Master is not as narrow-minded as you think. Of course I don't mean that. Don't talk nonsense. Guan Wei hurriedly denied that he could eat anything he wanted, but he couldn't say anything he wanted. If this matter was heard by Wuxiazi, even if he was open-minded, he would probably expel him from the sect. The two chatted for a while, and Guan Chenghang had already ordered someone to pack Guan Wei's luggage. Under Guan Chenghang's earnest instructions, Guan Wei carried a lot of bags and went to Xiaoyao Valley with Xia Changqing. Changqing, you are so mean. Can't you help me? Guan Wei couldn't help but complain. Xia Changqing took the time to glance at Guan Wei and couldn't help but smile. Guan Wei looked quite embarrassed at this time. He was surrounded by the package that Guan Chenghang prepared for him. He had to keep his hands in a position to prevent the package that he had fixed with great difficulty from falling. Xia Changqing shook his head and had no intention of helping Guan Wei. Fourth junior brother, don't you know you should do your own things? Just now at the escort agency, if you didn't want to suffer this, you shouldn't have accepted so many packages. What's the point of carrying so many things? Bah. What do you know? Guan Wei spat and said to Xia Changqing with disdain, these are all my father's good intentions. If I refuse, my father will be heartbroken. So, you are still filial. In this case, this is your filial piety, not mine. How can I have the nerve to snatch your filial piety? Xia Changqing said with a smile. No matter what, he was right. Guan Wei was speechless and didn't know how to refute. Just like Xia Changqing said, if he let Xia Changqing carry the packages on his body, wouldn't he be unfilial? But Luoyang City is a long distance from Xiaoyao Valley. If he relies on himself, he will be exhausted when he arrives at Xiaoyao Valley. On the one hand, there is the mental torment of being unfilial, and on the other hand, there is physical fatigue. It is really a dilemma. While Guan Wei was struggling, Xiaoyao Valley was already in sight. Well, since Xiaoyao Valley was already here, there was no need for Guan Wei to struggle anymore. Xia Changqing walked in front, and Guan Wei followed behind him. As soon as the two stepped onto the suspension bridge that led to Xiaoyao Valley, Xia Changqing noticed a young man who had gone one step ahead of them. The young man was wearing a black robe and had a knife on his waist. He was not someone to be trifled with. Of course, this road led not only to Xiaoyao Valley, but also to Wangaya Village. Xia Changqing and Guan Wei had just joined Xiaoyao Valley, and they didn't know who was in Wangaya Village, so they didn't mean to say hello to this strange young man. The road was open to the sky, and they each walked on their own side. What Xia Changqing didn't expect was that after seeing the two people, the young man directly blocked them with a knife. Although the suspension bridge had a lot of space, Xia Changqing and Guan Wei could squeeze through, but the other party was obviously malicious, and he had a knife on his waist. At this time, even Xia Changqing was unwilling to get close to the other party casually. Brother, what do you mean? Xia Changqing frowned and asked with his fists clasped. At this time, Xia Changqing had already seen the other person's appearance clearly. The other person looked about the same age as Gu Yuxuan. But unlike Gu Yuxuan's gentle temperament, there was a hint of hostility between the other person's eyebrows. This made Xia Changqing unhappy and secretly alert. The other person was not a person who was easy to get along with. Who are you? The young man who blocked the road asked. His voice was a little cold and hard, which was not beyond Xia Changqing's expectations. Before Xia Changqing spoke, Guan Wei couldn't help it. He was already tired enough carrying a pile of packages, and now he just wanted to get to Xiaoyao Valley as soon as possible and put down all the luggage. Now this person in front of them blocked their way for no reason and asked them who they were. It was really unreasonable. Before asking who we are, can you tell us who you are first? And what is the purpose of you blocking our way? Guan Wei asked in a frivolous tone, and the anger implied in it was no longer concealed. The other party's tone became even colder. I'm from Xia Valley. This road can only lead to Xia Valley and Wangaya Village. If you are a guest, please state your identity first. Someone from Xia Valley? As soon as the other party finished speaking, Xia Changqing thought of a person, Wuxi, as his second apprentice, the second senior brother they had never met. The other party seemed to be called Jingji. Xia Changqing understood the other party's identity, but it did not mean that Guan Wei had also thought of this. We are also from Xia Valley. Wuxi is our master, but why have we never seen you? Without thinking, Guan Wei's questioning words came out. Xia Changqing quickly pulled Guan Wei, and in his puzzled eyes, he mouthed the word too. Unfortunately, Guan Wei did not understand what Xia Changqing meant. On the other side, Jingji tightened his grip on the knife. He laughed angrily. As far as I know, Wu Zizi only has 2 disciples. Are you to the disciples? It was obvious that Jingji had regarded Xia Changqing and Guan Wei as frauds. That's all old news. Guan Wei laughed. You actually shamelessly said that you are from Xia Valley. Don't you know that Senior Wu Zizi recently accepted 3 new disciples? After hearing this, Jingji frowned even more. Is the old man confused? Xia Changqing couldn't bear it anymore. He quickly pulled Guan Wei again and said, are you the second disciple of the master, Jingji? Guan Wei was shocked when he heard this. Chapter 229 Thorns. Guan Wei did not doubt the truth of Xia Changqing's words, because after Xia Changqing pointed out Jingji's identity, Guan Wei was already 90% sure that the person who blocked their way was their nominal second senior brother. Yes, I'm Jingji. It's over. It's over. The other party admitted it. Guan Wei cried out in his heart that he was finished. He had just entered the sect and had already offended his second senior brother. With a far-fetched smile on his face, Guan Wei looked at Jingji in a flattering way. Hello, second senior brother. My name is Guan Wei, and I'm the new disciple of the master. I didn't know what the second senior brother looked like before, so I was a little offended in my words. I hope the second senior brother will not blame me. The words were too humble. Xia Changqing looked at Guan Wei in a strange way, not knowing why he behaved like this. In fact, when he was at Changhang Escort Agency, Guan Wei told his father about Xia Changqing's theory, the theory that the bigger the fist, the senior brother, which made Guan Changhang speechless. But after seeing that Guan Wei also had this idea, Guan Changhang severely warned him. Before you have absolute strength, you still have to behave well. That's the hard truth. So even though he had offended Jingji in the past, Guan Wei still wanted to improve the relationship between the two. Are you really the old man's new disciples? Jingji asked again worriedly. If the old man you are talking about is Wu Zizi, then yes, we are indeed his new disciples. After hearing Guan Wei's confirmed answer, Jingji did not think that Guan Wei was lying. Xia Valley was nearby, and no one dared to pretend to be a disciple of Xia Valley. At the same time, Guan Wei also shouted in his heart that he was wise. Listen to the way the second brother addressed the master, calling him the old man directly. What a close relationship is this? It is absolutely right to build a good relationship with him. Guan Wei thought secretly. It seems that the old man is really confused. Jingji muttered again in a low voice. It was enough for Xia Changqing and Guan Wei to hear clearly. But whether Jingji did it on purpose, at least Guan Wei's chilling look was real. Let's believe what you said is true. When you come to the old man, if you lie, you will definitely not want to see the end. Jingji stroked his knife and said, you two, walk in front of me. Since you said you are the old man's new apprentice, you must know the way to Xia Valley. Guan Wei naturally had no complaints, and Xia Changqing didn't want to have too much contact with Jingji. Although he had just met Jingji for the first time, Xia Changqing could already see that he was not an easy person to get along with. At the moment, Xia Changqing and Guan Wei walked in the front, and Jingji followed behind them with his knife. After passing the suspension bridge, they walked a few dozen steps and soon came to a fork in the road. At this point, they had to choose which road to take. One was to Xia Valley, and the other was to Wangaya Village. Guan Wei certainly couldn't choose the wrong road. He took the lead and walked towards the road leading to Xia Valley. Jingji, who followed closely behind, melted a bit of the coldness in his eyes. Of course, even if the two people in front are Wuxia's new disciples, it does not mean that Jingji will recognize them at the first time. If you want to become his junior brother, it depends on whether he agrees or not. In Jingji's heart, even for Gu Yuxin, the senior brother, he didn't take it seriously. The three of them soon arrived at Xiaoyao Valley. The entrance of Xiaoyao Valley is quiet and pleasant, and there is no one guarding it. In fact, with the number of people in Xiaoyao Valley, there is no manpower to guard the entrance of the valley. It is also because Wuxia is confident that there is no crazy person who dares to go wild in Xiaoyao Valley. After entering Xiaoyao Valley, there are few people in Xiaoyao Valley, and it is very difficult to meet someone. So Xia Changqing and the other two decided to find Wuxia first. As long as they met Wuxia, the identities of the three people would naturally become clear. At this time, they have arrived in Xiaoyao Valley. No matter who it is, they have actually recognized each other's identity. But whether it is Xia Changqing and Guan Wei, or Jingji who went out to do business, the first thing they did when they came back was of course, to pay homage to Wuxia, the master. When they saw Wuxia, he was playing the zither. The three of them were standing far away. Even Jingji didn't dare to disturb them. This was hard for Guan Wei, as he was still carrying a lot of burdens. Fortunately, Wuxia had already sensed the arrival of the three of them, and stopped playing, before finishing a song. What a coincidence, the three of you came back together. Wuxia waved at the three of them, and asked them to come closer. Jingji, did you have a smooth trip this time? Wuxia asked his second disciple first. Everything went well. Jingji answered perfunctorily, then frowned and pointed the finger at Xia Changqing and Guan Wei. Master, I just left for a few days. How come there are 3 more junior brothers? I didn't say they were your junior brothers. After hearing Jingji's words, Xia Changqing thought secretly. You've been gone for more than a few days. It's been more than a month. Master, is this the point? Jingji said dissatisfiedly. The point is how can you accept 3 apprentices at once? Wu Zizi looked at Jingji with amusement. Are you not happy that there are 3 more apprentices all of a sudden? By the way, have you met each other? Do you want me to introduce you to each other? Humph, that depends on whether they are qualified to be my apprentices. Jingji snorted coldly, not even giving Wu Zizi face. I just came back. I'm a little tired. I'm going back first. After saying that, Jingji turned around and left, clearly not wanting to know Xia Changqing and Guan Wei. Xia Changqing didn't feel much. Jingji had never experienced the beatings of society, so he acted so arrogantly. If there was a chance, he wouldn't mind giving Jingji an unforgettable lesson. As for Guan Wei, his face was a little embarrassed. He was still thinking about building a good relationship with Jingji. At this time, Wuxia spoke up. Don't worry about him. Jingji is a cold-faced person with a warm heart. You will know after you get to know him for a long time. At this point, Wuxia looked at Guan Wei strangely and took a closer look at his luggage. Okay, you guys go find your senior brother first and ask him to arrange a room for you. We can talk about anything later. I will continue to play the piano, or you can stay and listen to me play a song. Xia Changqing and Guan Wei looked at each other and said at the same time, Master, let's not disturb you. Let's go find our senior brother and settle down first. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 230, 7 Sages of Forgetfulness. The days in Xiaoyao Valley are so boring, but they are also enjoyable. Dan Fang Weiming and Guan Wei started to practice the basic skills of Xiaoyao Valley. Wuxia is a very knowledgeable person. He can teach them boxing, footwork, swordsmanship, knife skills, and stick skills, as long as they want to learn. But Xia Changqing is special. Wuxia did not teach Xia Changqing any knowledge about martial arts. In Xia Changqing's free time, after coming to Xiaoyao Valley, Wuxia focused on teaching him about chess, music, and flower art. Strange knowledge is constantly increasing, and to be honest, Xia Changqing is also more interested in this aspect. In the endless travel, it is always good to learn more things. One day, Xia Changqing left Xiaoyao Valley and went to Wanggao Village. Wanggao Village and Xiaoyao Valley are neighbors. There are 7 seniors with different skills living in it. They are good friends with Wuxiazi. It was under Wuxiazi's introduction that Xia Changqing went to Wanggao Village. According to Wuxiazi, if Xia Changqing wants to make a breakthrough in other skills, the 7 sages of forgetfulness are his best teachers. Xia Changqing came to Forgetfulness Village, and before he set foot in it, he first heard a melodious song. Xia Changqing closed his eyes and listened. This clear song seemed to have the effect of cleansing the soul. He just listened and felt a sense of tranquility. After a long time, the music gradually stopped. Xia Changqing followed the last tale and came to Xianyan's home first. The 2-story bamboo building made people know at a glance that this is where sages and scholars live. Who is outside my house? Xia Changqing just arrived at the door of Xianyan's house, and a clear voice rang in his ears. Xia Changqing's eyes lit up. Just by listening to the voice, he could tell that Xianyan must be a very beautiful woman. Senior Xianyan, I'm Xia Changqing, a disciple that my master Wuxiazi has just accepted. I came to visit you. Coming quickly, Xianyan said in the house. Xia Changqing didn't know what was going on with this unusual enthusiasm, but it didn't stop him from entering Xianyan's house. The house was very simply furnished. In the middle of the house, a very beautiful woman was sitting on the ground. In front of her, there was a zither. Even after Xia Changqing came in, Xianyan didn't mean to get up to greet him. How about you listen to this new song I composed first? Before Xia Changqing could speak, Xianyan said directly. As soon as she finished speaking, she put her hand on the zither. Ding ding dong dong, the music like flowing water echoed in Xia Changqing's ears. This is not treating me as an outsider, Xia Changqing thought secretly, and he didn't see it as a stranger. He sat down cross-legged in front of Xianyan and closed his eyes to listen carefully. Xianyan's name is worthy of being called Xianyan. Her zither skills are close to Taoism. The songs she played are really like fairy music, lingering in the ears for 3 days, and endless aftertaste. After a cup of tea, Xianyan's rhythm of playing the piano suddenly stopped, which made people feel very uncomfortable, and a feeling of frustration arose spontaneously. Senior Xianyan, why don't you play? Xia Changqing asked curiously. Seeing Xianyan's brows slightly frowned, people couldn't help but feel pity for her and wanted to hold her in his arms and comfort her. However, Xia Changqing was determined and would not be moved by beauty. Moreover, although Xianyan looks extremely beautiful, her age is really that of a senior. No more below. Xianyan said slowly, her tone full of annoyance. Her fingers kept playing new notes on the strings, but it was no longer a melody. Senior? Xia Changqing called twice in succession, but did not get a response from Xianyan. Looking at Xianyan's appearance, it was obvious that she was immersed in the creation of the song. So much so that even Xia Changqing, the guest, was forgotten. Maybe this is a piano maniac. Xia Changqing sighed, quietly walked out of Xianyan's room, and helped him close the door, to prevent others from disturbing Xianyan's creation. Who are you? Xia Changqing had just closed Xianyan's door, when he heard a questioning voice behind him. However, even if it was a question, the voice was full of glutinous flavor. Xia Changqing turned his head, and looked at her. His eyes lit up again. After seeing the beauty of Xianyan, he once again saw a girl as pure as snow. The girl was dressed in white, holding a white kitten in her arms, and her eyes were like those of a little deer, looking at Xia Changqing vigilantly. Girl, I'm Xia Changqing, the new disciple of Senior Wuxiazi. Xia Changqing explained his identity again. So you are Senior Wuxiazi's disciple. Why didn't you say it earlier? You made me so worried. The vigilance in the girl's eyes quickly disappeared. She looked at Xia Changqing with some complaints, and it was clear that she had believed Xia Changqing's words. My name is Shen Xiangyan, the daughter of the miracle doctor. What do you want to do in our Wanggao village? The little girl named Shen Xiangyan has no suspicion of Xia Changqing. This is a young girl who has not experienced much in the world. She is as pure as a blank sheet of paper. Miss Shen, do you know if the miracle doctor is at home? I want to visit him. Xia Changqing directly put forward his request. Although Shen Xiangan is very beautiful, Xia Changqing will not be so crazy as to have other thoughts about a young girl who has not experienced much in the world. My father is at home. Do you want to visit him? I will lead the way for you. After hearing that Xia Changqing was going to visit the miracle doctor, Shen Xiangan suddenly became happy and jumped in front of Xia Changqing to lead the way for him. I originally wanted to come to find Sister Xianqing, but since you are going to see my father, then I will reluctantly lead the way for you. Shen Xiangan raised her chin and said to Xia Changqing, with an expression of come and praise me. Xia Changqing smiled secretly. This little girl is really interesting. Thank you so much, Xiangan. I came here in a hurry this time and didn't bring any gifts. I will definitely bring you a gift next time I come. Okay. Seeing the happy smile of the little girl, Xia Changqing's mood also became better. Dad, I'm back. Shen Xiangan pushed open the gate of her own house and shouted loudly. Then, Xia Changqing heard a muffled sound coming from a room, followed by an angry voice. Xiangan, didn't you go to find Xianqing? How come you are back so soon? As the voice sounded, a dark figure emerged. Look at what you have done. You made me waste another furnace of elixirs. Chapter 231 New Year's Eve. The person who rushed out of the room in black was the genius doctor. He was just in the room carefully refining a furnace of elixirs. If he had continued normally, he would have been able to refine a furnace of good elixirs. However, Shen Xiangan's roar disturbed the genius doctor's mind, which directly caused the furnace of elixirs to be wasted. Shen Xiangan, who knew that she had caused trouble, stuck out her tongue embarrassedly and smiled shyly. Her cute appearance made people reluctant to blame her. But the genius doctor did not have this concern. After all, she was his daughter. No matter how cute she was, he had seen her for so many years, and had seen enough of her. Just when the genius doctor was about to scold Shen Xiangan, he also found Xia Changqing's figure, and the original words of blame were immediately swallowed back into his stomach. Ahem, Xiangan, who is this young man? Is he here to see a doctor? After hearing her father's question, Shen Xiangan immediately rolled her eyes. Knowing that this was a good opportunity to get away, she made way and exposed Xia Changqing. Dad, this is Mr. Xia. He is the new disciple of Senior Wuxia. Shen Xiangan achieved her goal, and the doctor's attention was diverted. It turned out to be Mr. Xia. Please wait a moment, let me take care of it. The doctor coughed twice. His image at this time was really not presentable, especially in front of a junior. Senior, please go ahead, Xia Changqing said with a bow. The doctor glared at Shen Xiangan fiercely. You should entertain Mr. Xia first. I'll be back soon. Looking at the somewhat embarrassed back of the doctor, Shen Xiangan embarrassedly stuck out her tongue and smiled again. Then, Shen Xiangan put down the kitten in her arms and led Xia Changqing to the hall. When Shen Xiangan had just made tea, the doctor hurried to Xia Changqing. Mr. Xia, what are you doing here? Does your master have anything for you to do? Senior Divine Doctor, you can just call me Changqing. I'm not worthy of the title of young master. I have only one purpose in visiting you, Senior Divine Doctor, which is to learn medical skills from you. Oh, you want to learn medical skills from me? The Divine Doctor looked Xia Changqing up and down, as if judging whether Xia Changqing had the qualifications. I hope you will teach me, Xia Changqing said sincerely. Given the friendship between Wuxia and me, it is not impossible for me to teach you medical skills. But if you want to truly master medical skills, you must be prepared to endure hardships. I'm willing, Xia Changqing said loudly. He had suffered all kinds of hardships, but just learning medical skills was nothing. Among the 7 sages of Wangaya village, only the medical skills of the Divine Doctor were what Xia Changqing wanted to learn. However, when he came to Wangaya village, he certainly couldn't favor one over the other and not visit the other people. Otherwise those people would inevitably nag again when they talked to Wuxia. After visiting the other 5 people one by one, Xia Changqing returned to the home of the Divine Doctor and began to learn medical skills from the Divine Doctor. Medical skills are broad and profound. It is not a simple thing to really learn medical skills. After all, medical skills act directly on the human body. Medicine is 3-point poison. If the medical skills are not refined, then it will not cure the disease, but kill people. Xia Changqing's study started with identifying various medicinal materials. Whatever the divine doctor's family lacks, there will be no lack of medicinal materials. This is a very complicated and tedious process. Fortunately, Xia Changqing has plenty of time. After dealing with Wuxia's other tests and teachings every day, he comes to Huanggaya village to learn from the divine doctor. Life in Xiaoyao Valley and Huanggaya village is unusually peaceful and without any waves. No matter how other people feel, in Xia Changqing's opinion, he enjoys this kind of life very much. Time passed by bit, and in the blink of an eye, it was the end of the year. The atmosphere of the new year began to permeate Xiaoyao Valley, which made Xia Changqing feel dazed. Unconsciously, he had been in this world for such a long time. Brother, what are you in a daze about? Master asked us to hang up these lanterns and prepare the dishes for tonight. Dan Fang Weiming stared at Xia Changqing with dissatisfaction. Because of the new year, even if there were few people in Xiaoyao Valley, they still had to hang up the lanterns and have a new year atmosphere. As the two youngest people in Xiaoyao Valley, these tasks were assigned to Xia Changqing and Dan Fang Weiming. As for Guan Wei, his home was in Luoyang City after all, and Guan Shenghang only had him as his son. Wuxiazi was not an unkind person, so he would naturally let Guan Wei go home for the new year. And Xia Changqing's day's look just now, in Dan Fang Weiming's eyes, was naturally lazy. Of course, he didn't dare to blame Xia Changqing too much. There was no way. Who made him the junior brother, the least status to speak of? Xia Changqing came back to his senses and smiled at Dan Fang Weiming with embarrassment. Sorry junior brother, I was distracted just now. Xia Changqing had a good impression of Dan Fang Weiming, this cheap junior brother. This kid was simple-minded and had no scheming. It was very easy for people to get along with him. Even between thorns, Dan Fang Weiming could talk. He practiced hard and worked actively. Everyone in Xiaoyao Valley was satisfied with such a junior brother. After coming back to his senses, Xia Changqing threw away his distracting thoughts and took the big red lantern from Dan Fang Weiming's hand. This was also made by Dan Fang Weiming himself. Then, Xia Changqing lightly stepped on the ground, and the whole person had risen from the ground, soaring straight up, and flew lightly to the tree, fixing the lantern between the branches. It stands to reason that the lantern festival is the day to hang lanterns, but Wuxiazi was too lazy to bother, and he just solved it once and for all. At most, it would make Xia Changqing work harder. Dan Fang Weiming, who was standing under the tree, couldn't help but show envy when he saw Xia Changqing jump 3 feet high so easily. He had just started to learn martial arts after entering Xiaoyao Valley, and he had to start from the basics. His martial arts now were just the beginning. He still had a long way to go to reach Xia Changqing's level. Next, Xia Changqing's soaring figure was everywhere in Xiaoyao Valley, and the rest of the people were just sitting back and enjoying the fruits of their labor. Originally, Xia Changqing could have assigned this matter to Gu Yuxun and Jingji with his fists. After such a long time of getting along, neither Gu Yuxun nor Jingji had ever heard Xia Changqing call him senior brother. Of course, they didn't dare to call Xia Changqing junior brother. Changqing, Weiming, hurry up and finish hanging the lanterns. We should prepare the New Year's Eve dinner. In the distance, Gu Yuxun was already waiting anxiously and shouted loudly with his internal force. Chapter 232, Meeting Zhu and Mingzi again. The New Year's Eve dinner was made by the joint efforts of the 4 disciples of Xiaoyao Valley. However, most of the credit should be attributed to Dan Fang Weiming, the junior brother of Xiaoyao Valley. After being Wuxia's apprentice for such a long time, he has not learned much in other aspects, but has mastered this cooking skill. The New Year's Eve dinner was very rich, with a large table full. Because this year's New Year's Eve was not only for Xiaoyao Valley, at the strong request of Xia Changqing, with the approval of Wuxiazi, he invited everyone from Huanggaya village. The 7 sages of Huanggaya all have unique skills, so the entertainment time after the New Year's Eve dinner is not lonely. Amidst laughter and joy, Xia Changqing ushered in the new year. This is his first new year in this world. On the first day of the new year, The 4 disciples wished Wuxiazi a happy new year, and Wuxiazi was not stingy. He gave everyone a big red envelope. Although Wuxiazi only knows how to grow flowers and plants all day long, Xiaoyao Valley is not short of money. The only servant in Xiaoyao Valley cannot be called a servant. Leo, who is a skilled blacksmith. From his hands, he can make ordinary farm tools or magic weapons. That is to say, Xia Changqing has long since abandoned his sword, otherwise, he would have asked Leo Hu to make a magic sword for him. After the new year, Guan Wei also returned to Xiaoyao Valley to continue his studies, and life in the valley returned to peace. Xia Changqing still went to Wangyao village whenever he had nothing to do. He has been learning medical skills from the divine doctor for some time. On the system panel, the level of the medical skills column has also reached level 6. Just talking about medical skills, Xia Changqing already has 70% of the ability of the divine doctor. In addition, Xia Changqing also has magic power in his body, which is combined with medical skills, and he has reached a higher level. After Xia Changqing's medical skills entered the hall, the divine doctor began to teach him his own special skills. That is to practice alchemy. Take the essence of the medicinal materials, and condense them into essence, to achieve the effect of enhancing power, healing, and detoxification. Making pills is very complicated, and it is not something that can be done well once you have mastered the medical skills. Because of the complexity of the medicinal materials and the conflicts between the various medicinal properties, they all need to be mastered one by one. After making so many preparations in the early stage, the genius doctor really began to teach Xia Changqing to make pills. For this reason, the genius doctor specifically drove his daughter out and took Xia Changqing to the quiet room. The genius doctor had already prepared the required amount of medicinal materials in advance and placed them next to the furnace in order. These are all things that need to be prepared in advance. When the alchemy really starts, you must not be in a hurry to sort the medicinal materials. For a month, the genius doctor took Xia Changqing to open the furnace to make pills. Some were successful, and some were scrapped. Even a genius doctor cannot guarantee that every time he makes pills, he will succeed. Another month later, under the command of the genius doctor, Xia Changqing began his first alchemy. As a practice, the genius doctor asked Xia Changqing to make some pills for treating colds. This is not called making pills, but making pills. All Xia Changqing had to do was to grind the herbs into powder, knead them into pills, and then air dry the pills. There was no technical content at all. Xia Changqing made these pills very easily, and he was praised by the divine doctor, who encouraged him to keep up the good work. The divine doctor didn't know that on Xia Changqing's system panel, there was already an option for the skill of refining pills. A life of cheating. No explanation is needed. Xia Changqing's alchemy skills have improved by leaps and bounds, and even the divine doctor was very surprised. One day, Xia Changqing came out of Wangyao village with a wooden box in his hand. What he was holding in his hand was the pill he had just made. This is a pill that can increase the power of the skill. For the divine doctor, these pills have no effect. He is a person obsessed with medical skills and never cares about martial arts. Xia Changqing refined these pills, so naturally he couldn't waste them like this. These are all tested by the divine doctor and can be used with confidence. So, under the premise that Xia Changqing did not want to use it, it was good to keep it in the family. He thought of taking it back to Xiaoyao Valley and giving it to Guan Wei and Fang Weiming. However, at the entrance of Xiaoyao Valley, Xia Changqing met a person who surprised him. Zuan Mingzi? Xia Changqing looked at the old man in front of him and revealed his identity. The man was Zuan Mingzi, who betrayed Xiaoyao Valley. If Xia Changqing could join Xiaoyao Valley, it was thanks to Zuan Mingzi. If Zuan Mingzi had not poisoned and wanted to harm Gu Yuxin, there would be no such things later. Before Xia Changqing arrived, Zuan Mingzi had been standing at the entrance of Xiaoyao Valley for a while. Because Xiaoyao Valley did not have disciples guarding the entrance, no one in the valley knew about Zuan Mingzi's arrival. Thinking of this person's identity, Xia Changqing frowned slightly. Zuan Mingzi was not a good person. He poisoned, did all kinds of evil, and was ambitious. But Xia Changqing knew that Zuan Mingzi was Wuxia's junior brother after all. So Xia Changqing planned to use courtesy before force. Uncle Xuanmingzi, you have already left Xiaoyao Valley. What are you doing back here? Xia Changqing did not use the word betrayal, which was considered to be a great honor for Xuanmingzi. Xuanmingzi stared at Xia Changqing with a sinister look for a while, and just when Xia Changqing was feeling uncomfortable and thought Xuanmingzi had some special hobbies, Xuanmingzi finally spoke. I remember you, kid, last year in Luoyang City, you ruined my good thing. I didn't expect you to worship Wuxiazi as your master. Xuanmingzi finally remembered where he had seen Xia Changqing, because Xia Changqing had left a deep impression on him that time. He was the guardian of the Xianlang sect, but he was actually repelled by an unknown kid. If this spread to the world, how could he still have face? Therefore, after seeing Xia Changqing again, Xuanmingzi was so angry that his teeth itched. At this moment, Xia Changqing's expression suddenly changed. He waved his sleeves, and a breeze suddenly formed in front of him, blowing towards Xuanmingzi. Xia Changqing looked at Xuanmingzi with a somewhat ugly expression. Uncle Master, as my elder, I should not say anything, but your act of secretly poisoning is really not worthy of being on the stage. That's right, when Xuanmingzi recognized Xia Changqing's identity, he had already secretly sprinkled a piece of invisible poison powder on Xia Changqing. Thanks to Xia Changqing, he has been following the miracle doctor to learn medical skills for so long, and medicine and poison are inseparable, and next to the miracle doctor's house is the strange doctor. Unlike the miracle doctor who saves the world, the strange doctor is only interested in poison. In order to avoid being harmed by poison in the future, Xia Changqing did not mind following the strange doctor to learn poison skills. Chapter 233 War. Facing Xuanmingzi's hidden hand, Xia Changqing did not return the favor. He used his inner strength to create a breeze in front of him, letting the breeze blow all the poison powder back. Even so, Xia Changqing could still feel a tingling sensation on his exposed skin. Unknowingly, Xia Changqing was still hit. While feeling this, Xia Changqing had already used his inner strength without any expression to force out the insignificant remaining poison. Facing a powerful enemy, he must not show any weakness. Facing the poison powder blown back by Xia Changqing, Xuanmingzi was not moved at all and let the poison powder stain him. For Xuanmingzi, who has been dealing with various poisons for many years, he has long become an invulnerable body because he carries a body full of toxins and is a real poisonous body. Boy, good tricks. Xuanmingzi praised Xia Changqing's method of releasing his true energy just now, but his face was full of admiration the previous second, and then turned into a murderous look the next second. Let me, Uncle Master, see what methods you have learned from my senior brother. Before he finished speaking, Xuanmingzi took the lead without any sense of shame. He stretched out his arms, and his sleeves swelled up without wind. He flew towards Xia Changqing like a roc spreading its wings. The eagle flies to the sky, searching for prey, and then kills it with one strike. Xuanmingzi bent his 5 fingers, with a little green light between his fingers, and was about to kill Xia Changqing, the weak prey, like an eagle hunting. With one claw, it seemed that the air was about to be torn. Facing this amazing claw, Xia Changqing focused on his danshan and remained motionless. The eagle can catch rabbits, but it must also be on guard against being kicked by the rabbit. When Xuanmingzi's ghost claw came in front of Xia Changqing, he pointed out with a lightning fast finger, without giving Xuanmingzi any time to react, and pointed in the middle of Xuanmingzi's claw. The force gushed out, and Xuanmingzi felt a sharp pain in his palm. He was shocked, but he was experienced in combat, so this little pain did not make him panic. Although the rabbit can kick the eagle, it can't escape the fate of becoming the food in the eagle's belly. Swish. Xuanmingzi retreated with the help of Xia Changqing's finger force. While the whole person was in midair, he had already swung his claws, and the invisible force from his fingers quickly attacked Xia Changqing. Xia Changqing remained calm in the face of danger. His body was like a seaweed, swaying in the wind. His soft and boneless posture dodged all the invisible force. Swish, the sound of a sharp weapon cutting through clothes was heard. Xia Changqing looked down at his torn robe. Well, he didn't completely avoid it. But, passively taking a beating is not Xia Changqing's character. Just as Zhuan Mingzi's figure fell and had not yet stood firm, Xia Changqing rushed forward and swung his palm. Suddenly, palm shadows appeared in front of him, covering Zhuan Mingzi's whole body. Xiao palm technique. Zhuan Mingzi exclaimed in surprise. He recognized the martial arts used by Xia Changqing. After all, he, Zhuan Mingzi, had also learned Xiao palm technique. However, in Zhuan Mingzi's eyes, Xia Changqing's Xiao palm technique seemed to have a sense of speciousness. Zhuan Mingzi was sure that Xiao palm technique was definitely not so powerful. Zhuan Mingzi waved his claws continuously, and every time he waved, he destroyed a palm shadow of Xia Changqing. You are not Xiao palm technique, Zhuan Mingzi said with certainty. His eyes narrowed slightly, hoping to find the true form of these palm shadows, because Zhuan Mingzi did not believe that these palm shadows could have real palm power. But it was destined to disappoint Zhuan Mingzi. In the past year or so, although Xia Changqing seemed to be only following the divine doctor to learn medical skills, and did not care about martial arts, he did not seem to care about martial arts. But the speed of his martial arts improvement was so fast that even Dongfang Weiming, the destined protagonist, could not match him. The cheaters were so arrogant. Therefore, even the Xiao palm technique used for entry was used in various ways by Xia Changqing. In fact, the head of a sect that could be called Xiao could not be an ordinary person. Zhuan Mingzi was shocked in a flash. While he was waving his claws, his body was also retreating. If it was not seen with his own eyes, no one would dare to believe that Zhuan Mingzi would be forced back by a young man. After retreating 4 or 5 steps, Zhuan Mingzi paused. His body was full of energy, and he became fatter. He turned his claws into palms, and faced Xia Changqing with a palm strike that seemed slow, but was actually fast. Bang! It was like a thunder explosion. Xia Changqing involuntarily retreated 3 steps, while Zhuan Mingzi only retreated 2.5 steps. There was a sweetness in his throat, and a trickle of blood flowed from the corner of Xia Changqing's mouth. Zhuan Mingzi was not feeling well either. He forced himself to swallow back a mouthful of blood. With this mouthful, the internal injuries that could have been cured in half a day had to be delayed for a whole day. But Xia Changqing could spit out blood without worry. Even if he was at a disadvantage in the previous competition, no one could say anything to him, because he was a junior after all. But Zhuan Mingzi was different. He was a senior. He should have defeated Xia Changqing with a crushing force. That was what he should have done. Unexpectedly, in the competition of pure internal strength, he also suffered internal injuries. If this was revealed, he would be laughed to death by the boy in front of him. Now Zhuan Mingzi has some regrets in his heart. This boy is too evil. How can he have such a deep internal strength and such high martial arts at such a young age? It's really evil. Fortunately, Zhuan Mingzi is also an old man in the arena. How could he not have a backup plan? Ha ha ha. Zhuan Mingzi suddenly laughed 3 times and said to Xia Changqing in a cold tone, "Boy, look at your palm." Xia Changqing frowned and looked at his palm. He saw that a black mold spot appeared on his palm at some point. The mold spot was slowly expanding. "Boy, you are still too young to fight with me, but if you just ask me, I will give you the antidote." Zhuan Mingzi has already determined that Xia Changqing, who is so young, must be a very proud person with such profound martial arts. He will definitely not ask for help easily. And Zhuan Mingzi's goal is to completely smash Xia Changqing's pride and knock him down into the dust, so as to achieve the purpose of controlling Xia Changqing. Humph, so what if you have high martial arts? The world is big, boy, you still have a lot to learn. Zhuan Mingzi stared at Xia Changqing with burning eyes. It is a waste for such a talent to stay in Xiao Valley. His Xian Long sect. No, it is him, Zhuan Mingzi, who needs talents like Xia Changqing. Okay, Uncle Master, I beg you, give me the antidote. Oh, if you don't beg me, the poison will spread all over your body, and you will rot and die in pain. Zhuan Mingzi laughed wildly. Uncle Master, I've already begged you. Xia Changqing repeated helplessly. Chapter 234, Frightened Back. Outside Xiao Valley, the breeze was gentle and the wind was very noisy today. Zhuan Mingzi was stunned on the spot, and he looked at Xia Changqing angrily. This routine is wrong. Shouldn't you swear to die and not surrender? Even if I force you again, you will not agree to beg me. This is what a decent young man should do, right? Zuan Mingzi shouted silently in his heart. But he was immediately happy in his heart. Since this kid can put down his face and beg him now, it means that he is not a pedantic person, and the chance of pulling him to his side is very high. Okay, since you beg me, then the uncle will not embarrass you, a junior. Come here and let the uncle detoxify you. Thinking of this, Zuan Mingzi felt comfortable immediately, and he waved to Xia Changqing calmly. However, at this moment, an old but powerful voice rang out, "No need." As the voice fell, Wuxia's figure had appeared outside the valley of Xiaoyao Valley. "Junior brother, long time no see, I'm your disciple, so I don't need your concern." After Wuxia arrived, before he finished speaking, Gu Yuxuan and others appeared outside the valley one after another, looking at Zuan Mingzi, as if they were facing a great enemy. "Master." Xia Changqing faced Wuxia and bowed. Wuxia nodded calmly, not at all like a funny guy in his daily life. "Disciple, don't be afraid, open your mouth." Wuxia flicked his finger, and a black shadow shot towards Xia Changqing. Xia Changqing immediately opened his mouth obediently, and a pill fell directly into his mouth, and melted in his mouth. "Disciple, quickly use your internal energy." Wuxia continued. Without Wuxia's words, Xia Changqing did not hesitate at all, and sat down directly on the spot, and had already used his internal energy to dissolve the power of the medicine. Seeing this scene, Zuan Mingzi frowned, but did not stop him. Since Wuxia had already appeared here, his purpose of showing kindness had been declared shattered. Zuan Mingzi then forgot about this matter, and a smile appeared on his lips. "Brother, I haven't seen you for a long time. I didn't expect that there are a few more disciples in Xiaoyao Valley. It's really a cause for celebration. Can't you introduce them to me?" Wuxia frowned slightly. "Brother, you have already betrayed Xiaoyao Valley, so you don't need to care about the things in this valley. You are not free and easy in Xianlang sect now. Why do you come back to the valley? Brother, don't be so distant. Although I have betrayed Xiaoyao Valley, no matter what, I was once a member of Xiaoyao Valley, so I naturally care about the disciples in our valley. Don't worry about it." Wuxia said coldly. Zuan Mingzi was unmoved, and had no intention of moving his feet to leave. "Brother, let me be frank. I have already established a firm foothold in Xianlang sect, so I immediately thought of our family, and wanted to help my nephews." At this point, Zuan Mingzi looked at Gu Yuxuan and others with a smile on his face. "I wonder if anyone wants to follow me, the uncle, to the Xianlang sect to eat delicious food and drink spicy drinks. Staying in this deserted Xiaoyao Valley, aren't you afraid of getting sick?" As soon as Zuan Mingzi finished speaking, Wuxia's face changed. He stared at Zuan Mingzi with an ugly face. He never expected that Zuan Mingzi was here to steal his girlfriend. Not to mention his own ambition, he even wanted to lead his disciples to the evil path. This is intolerable. Wuxia was angry and couldn't let Zuan Mingzi say any more bewitching words. Thinking of this, Wuxia's clothes moved without wind. Without seeing him make any movements, his body had already floated towards Zuan Mingzi like a ghost. A flawless white palm lightly pressed on Zuan Mingzi's head. Looking at the powerless palm, Zuan Mingzi screamed strangely and retreated quickly. At the same time, his right palm had turned green and was raised in front of him to meet Wuxia. Wuxia's figure flashed by, and when he reappeared, he was already behind Zuan Mingzi. Zuan Mingzi's right palm was still raised in front of him. He staggered forward 2 steps, retracted his right palm, and covered his chest. Puff! Zuan Mingzi spat out a mouthful of blood. In the blink of an eye, he didn't even see the corner of Wuxia's clothes, and he was already injured. However, Zuan Mingzi has been in the martial arts world for so many years, and he is also a ruthless person. He wiped the corner of his mouth, turned around, and said in a cold tone, "Senior brother's martial arts have improved again, which really makes me happy. I will remember this palm." Before he finished speaking, Zuan Mingzi had already performed Qinggang and floated away. When the last word fell, Zuan Mingzi's figure was no longer in the sky. "Master?" Gu Yuxuan looked at Zuan Mingzi's figure going away, and couldn't help but shout. Wuxia was somewhat discouraged, and he relaxed completely. To be honest, he still had feelings for his junior brother in his heart, but it was a pity that Xuanming's ambition was too big, and Xiaoyao Valley could not support him to realize his ambition, so he could only let him rebel from Xiaoyao Valley. No need to chase. Wuxiazi waved his hand to stop Gu Yuxian from chasing him. He was able to injure Xuanmingzi with the palm just now, and he also used the help of a sneak attack. Otherwise, Xuanmingzi would not have been unable to react. Wuxiazi retracted his gaze at Xuanmingzi's figure going away and fell on Xia Changqing, who had finished his martial arts and stood up from the ground. Wuxiazi looked at his disciple in surprise. He didn't expect that this disciple, who was usually silent and only learned some introductory martial arts, could actually stop Xuanmingzi. If he was not mistaken, Xuanmingzi had already shown signs of injury before he arrived. He really underestimated this disciple. I originally thought that he only liked playing chess, calligraphy and painting, and at most he went to Wangaya village more often. I didn't expect that he actually had such profound skills. The top martial arts people can tell a person's martial arts skills. For example, in Wuxia's eyes, among the 4 brothers of Gu Yuxian has the deepest internal strength and the highest martial arts, and Dongfang Weiming is the worst. This is what Wuxiazi can see. In Wuxia's eyes, Xia Changqing's martial arts is only about the same as Guan Wei's, and at most he has second-rate strength. I didn't expect that he was wrong. His disciple is really a hidden talent. Changqing, has the poison in your body been cured? Wuxiazi asked with concern. Xia Changqing noticed Wuxia's eyes and knew that he had enough understanding of his martial arts. But Xia Changqing didn't intend to hide his martial arts. In the fight with Gu Yuxian and others, he had already shown this. Chapter 235 True Key. The human body has 8 extraordinary meridians and 720 acupuncture points. For martial artists, the process of deepening their internal strength is to use the true key to penetrate the 8 extraordinary meridians and open up all the acupuncture points. This process is the process of martial artists strengthening themselves. Disciple, I didn't expect that at such a young age. You have already opened up all the meridians in your body, and your internal strength spreads throughout your body, endlessly, reaching a height that ordinary people can hardly reach. In the quiet room, Wuxiazi looked at Xia Changqing with a strange expression. What a pity, what a pity. Then, Wuxiazi felt sorry for Xia Changqing again. Master, what a pity. Xia Changqing looked at Wuxiazi strangely, not knowing what was a pity. To be honest, Xia Changqing has always adhered to the attitude of letting nature take its course in the matter of practicing martial arts. It's just that he can do things that ordinary people can't do because of the help of the system. This garbage system, first, has no reward function, and second, no exchange function. At most, it can take him to travel through the heavens and the worlds. Perhaps it was during the process of traveling through the heavens and the myriad worlds that his physique was improved unconsciously, which allowed him to learn everything at once and improve very quickly. What a pity, disciple. The source of your internal strength does not seem to be from my Xiaoyao heart method. This has resulted in your internal strength being too mixed, even though it has been 100 years old. For you, it has only disadvantages and no benefits. Xia Changqing was shocked by Wuxia's words. The old man was right. His internal strength was cultivated through the internal strength heart method passed down to him by Chen Jinan. After all, the world where Chen Jinan lived was the Dharma-ending age. His internal strength heart method was one of the best in that world, but in this world, it was not in Xiaoyao's eyes. Master is right. This internal strength was cultivated by the disciple through an unknown heart method. After worshipping you as a master, the disciple wanted to practice Xiaoyao heart method again, but the effect was minimal. Xia Changqing explained slowly, telling Wuxiazi everything about his own situation. So that's how it is. A flash of realization flashed across Wuxia's eyes. No wonder, if your internal force was obtained through the Xiaoyao heart method, my junior brother would definitely not be your opponent. But now you have internal force, but you still can't beat my junior brother. Wuxiazi touched his beard, and a puzzled look flashed across his eyes again. It's really strange. I see that the quality of your true energy is not good enough. The heart method you practiced is not good enough. But how did you get this internal force? Looking at Wuxia's puzzled eyes, Xia Changqing was not panicked. Wuxia would definitely not be able to discover the existence of the system. So Xia Changqing also pretended to be confused and said, "Master, I don't know. I have been practicing like this, and it became like this after practicing." Hearing such a rogue answer, Wuxia's eyes twitched fiercely, and he looked at Xia Changqing speechlessly. "Disciple, do you know that you are very hateful for saying this?" Wuxia thought helplessly in his heart, and at the same time, his tone became somewhat helpless. "Maybe you are the 1 in a million martial arts genius." Hearing this, what else could Xia Changqing do? He could only pretend to be innocent. Looking at Xia Changqing's innocent big eyes, Wuxia sighed helplessly again. This person is so annoying. But there is no way. Who made the young man in front of him his disciple? If there is a problem with the disciple, he, as the master, can only take responsibility. "Disciple, I tell you the truth. Although your internal strength is deep, the quality of this true energy is too poor, so your skill equivalent to hundreds of years can't do anything to my junior brother." Xia Changqing certainly understood what Wuxia meant. This inner strength training method is also divided into grades. The inferior inner strength training method not only cultivates poor quality of internal strength, but also very slow speed. The high quality inner strength training method mastered by the high level sects is not only faster, but also better quality. Therefore, even though they have practiced for only 1 year, the disciples of the big sects are far better than the wild ones. Xia Changqing is the only one who is different. Originally, with the inner strength method that Chen Jinan taught Xia Changqing, he would be lucky to become a second-rate master after practicing for a lifetime. But Xia Changqing was too evil, and he had accumulated hundreds of years of power in his body, which caused a qualitative change in the quantitative change. If his inner strength method was changed, not to mention the most profound inner strength such as Xia Changqing, he could cultivate hundreds of years of power with the Xia method alone, which was enough to kill Zhu and Mingzi in seconds. Xia Changqing certainly did not have the idea of hanging himself on a tree. He immediately prostrated himself to the ground. "Master, please give me a solution. The grace of preaching is worth Xia Changqing's worship." Alas. Wuxia sighed softly. "Disciple, get up first and listen to what the master says. Your true energy is too strong. Even if you have switched to practicing the Xia heart method, the new true energy will be assimilated by the original one, and the quality of this true energy will naturally not be improved." Wuxia closed his eyes and thought. After a moment, he opened his eyes, looked at Xia Changqing in front of him, and slowly said, "Disciple, I can give you 3 solutions." "Master, please speak." "First, use great perseverance and wisdom to disperse your skills." Wuxia said loudly, "But it's still the same problem. Your internal energy is too strong. If you disperse it lightly, I'm afraid it will damage your foundation, which will not be worth the loss. Of course, it may also be a blessing in disguise. Then you can practice other mental methods again. Second, do not disperse your power. Concentrate on practicing the Xia heart method. Use the grinding technique, and replace your original ki with Xia ki bit by bit. However, the two conflict with each other, and this process will be very slow, but this is indeed a safe method. This is Master's advice. I hope you choose this method. After all, you are still young, and have plenty of time." Xia Changqing did not comment, and continued to ask, "Master, is there another method?" When mentioning this last method, Wuxia showed a hint of hesitation on his face. "This method is more difficult, or it is impossible to succeed. Are you sure you want to listen? Master, please give me your advice." Xia Changqing bowed again. "This last method is similar to the second one. If you have the opportunity to obtain the Yijin Sutra, the treasure of Shaolin Temple, you can save the pain of dispersing power, and you can also save the grinding technique, and complete the transformation of your internal force in a short time. Of course, this process will compress your ki, and make it more pure. But this Yijin Sutra is a treasure of Shaolin Temple, and outsiders have never obtained it." Chapter 236, Choosing to Disperse Power. No matter what kind of martial arts world it is in, Xia Changqing is the first-class treasure of Shaolin Temple. How can it tolerate outsiders to get involved? So even Wu Zizi thought that this method was useless and impossible to achieve. Xia Changqing was thoughtful. He remembered that a few years later, a female thief would steal Yi Jingjing from Shaolin Temple. Did he have a chance to get involved in that matter? But the time for that incident was too far away. When that time came, I wonder how much the true ki in his body would accumulate. Xia Changqing was unwilling to wait. He was only interested in the day. However, the Shaolin Temple was heavily guarded, and ordinary people had no way to steal Yi Jingjing from it. Xia Changqing was not sure, and he could not afford the consequences of being discovered. Please, he was a good young man of the righteous way. How could he steal someone's secret book? This method was not advisable. Another kind of water grinding kung fu. Xia Changqing was also unwilling to wait. Who knew how long it would take to use the true ki of the free and easy mind method to replace the 100 years of skills that already existed in the body? Master, I'm willing to give up my power and start over. Xia Changqing had made up his mind and would not change it at will. He said to Wu Xiazi in a decisive tone. Wu Xiazi's eyes flashed with a look that was not unexpected. In fact, in Wu Xiazi's heart, he also believed that giving up his power and starting over was the best way for Xia Changqing. After all, Xia Changqing was still very young. He was extremely talented. He cultivated 100 years of power with a rubbish mental method. Even if he gave up his power and started over, he could cultivate it back very quickly. Disciple, since you have made up your mind, your master will not stop you. But you must remember that this is your own choice. Even if you lose all your power after giving up your power, and it is difficult for you to cultivate it back, that is your fate. Master, don't worry, your disciple won't worry. Xia Changqing said indifferently. Okay, since you have such determination, you will definitely succeed in resuming your cultivation after dispersing your gong. Wu Xiazi smiled with relief, but dispersing your gong after all is not a trivial matter. Just in case, you still have to prepare in advance. You should prepare well in the next few days. When you decide on the day to disperse your gong, your master will personally protect you. Thank you, master. After thanking Wu Xiazi, Xia Changqing began to prepare. Xia Changqing did not tell Gu Yuxun and others about the matter of dispersing his gong. They could not help much and could only worry in vain. The next morning, Xia Changqing left Xiaoyao Valley and traveled all the way with King Gang. A moment later, he appeared in Wangyao Village, the home of the genius doctor. Shen Xiangyan yawned and opened the door for Xia Changqing. She looked at Xia Changqing with resentment. No one would like to disturb someone's sweet sleep early in the morning. Under Xia Changqing's urging, the genius doctor got up reluctantly. Life in Wangyao Village is too leisurely, so leisurely that people don't want to get up early. What, you want to disperse your energy and start over? The genius doctor screamed in surprise and woke up from his deep sleep. Changqing, you are not sick, are you? Dispersing your energy and starting over is not a joke. Have you told your master about this? Xia Changqing replied, this matter has been agreed by my master, because this is a suggestion I was given by my master. What? The genius doctor screamed again, looking at Xia Changqing in disbelief. Is your master senile? How could he suggest you disperse your energy and start over? Senior, listen to me. It's because I have accumulated too much mixed true energy in my body. If I want to improve my martial arts, the best way is to disperse my energy and start over. Humph, I see that your martial arts are already very high now. How much higher do you want to go? As high as a 3-story building? No, I have to talk to your master about this matter. I absolutely can't let you do this. The genius doctor thought about it and did it. After he had this idea in mind, he immediately threw away the breakfast he had just eaten and hurried out the door. Hey, senior, don't be anxious. Listen to my explanation. Seeing this, Xia Changqing couldn't continue to eat, so he just threw it away and quickly caught up with the doctor. But the doctor was determined to ask Wu Xiazi what was going on, so how could he be persuaded by Xia Changqing in a few words? Don't pull me, I must go and explain it clearly. Although the doctor also has martial arts skills, his martial arts skills are too low. If they fight with real swords and guns, 100 doctors are not Xia Changqing's opponents. However, this is not a fight. The legs are on the doctor's body, and he has a character that will not turn back until he hits the wall. Even if Xia Changqing stops him now, he can't persuade him to refine the elixir for him. So, Xia Changqing let go and let the doctor go to Xiaoyao Valley to ask Wuxiazi in person so that he can give up. In Xiaoyao Valley, the divine doctor looked at Wuxiazi with a look of, "Are you kidding me? Look at what a rotten idea you came up with. Can you just disperse the power casually? Do you think dispersing the power is as simple as eating and drinking? Why do you come up with such a rotten idea?" After seeing Wuxiazi, the divine doctor immediately scolded him. Wuxiazi was also a little unhappy. He was my own disciple. If he wanted to disperse the power, he could disperse it. If he wanted to retrain, he could retrain. It was none of your business. Humph, Changqing is my disciple. Of course, I care about his dispersal of power, but there is no establishment without destruction. He is still so young and has a bright future waiting for him. This is his chance. Whether you agree or not, I support Changqing's dispersal of power. The divine doctor was extremely depressed because he couldn't convince Wuxiazi. He noticed Xia Changqing's expression, which was a very firm expression. The divine doctor soon came to his senses. He realized that his persuasion was completely useless. It was obvious that Xia Changqing had made up his mind. What he could do was to ensure his safety when he dispersed his power. "Boy, I really owe you," the genius doctor said unhappily. "Wait, I'm going back to practice medicine in seclusion. Remember, before I come out, no matter what, you must not disperse your power. And old Wuxiazi, keep an eye on your apprentice. If anything happens to him, you will be the one crying." Cursing the unreliable Wuxiazi in his heart, the genius doctor left Xiaoyao Valley cursing. After returning to Wangaya village, he plunged into his own medicine practice room. 3 days later, the genius doctor walked out of the medicine practice room in a slovenly manner. "Xiangan, send this medicine to that stinky boy Changqing." Shen Xiangan took the bottle and looked at the genius doctor with amusement. She didn't say anything. Her father was such a face-conscious person, it was not appropriate to provoke him now. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 237, Dispersion. Shen Xiangan came to Xiaoyao Valley, found Xia Changqing, and handed over the elixir that the divine doctor had just refined to Xia Changqing. Since the divine doctor went into seclusion, Xia Changqing has been recuperating for 3 days. Now everything is ready, only the east wind is missing. Xiangan, thank the divine doctor for me. Without further ado, I will start the process of dispersing my power now. After I come out of seclusion, I will thank him in person. Brother Xia, have you really decided to disperse your power? Is there no other way? Shen Xiangan looked at Xia Changqing with worry. Although she was not good at martial arts, she knew that dispersing power was a very dangerous thing. There was no worry in Xia Changqing's eyes. He looked at Shen Xiangan gently, as if the person who was going to disperse his power was not him. "Xiangan, don't worry, the power will be dispersed quickly. In less than 2 days, we can meet again. I believe that at that time, I will definitely be a completely transformed me." Shen Xiangan also knew that she couldn't persuade Xia Changqing, so she could only hide her worries in her heart and carefully told Xia Changqing to be careful. Shen Xiangan left only after Wuxiazi arrived. In fact, Wuxiazi had already noticed Shen Xiangan when she came to Xiaoyao Valley. He deliberately delayed for some time before coming to Xia Changqing's room. Watching Shen Xiangan leave, Wuxiazi couldn't help but smile mischievously. "Xia Xiangan is a good girl, apprentice, don't let her down." Xia Changqing was helpless in his heart. He didn't want to provoke peach blossoms, but some things often went against one's wishes. Because he joined Xiaoyao Valley, he was able to let his figure gradually disappear in Keely's heart, and after coming to Xiaoyao Valley, there was another Shen Xiangan. Does he really have the potential to be a scumbag? Xia Changqing doubted everything. But now is not the time to think about these things. Xia Changqing removed these distracting thoughts from his mind and said calmly, "Master, let's start." Seeing Xia Changqing's expression, Wuxiazi was also bored. He also calmed his mind and sat cross-legged in front of Xia Changqing with a solemn face. "Changqing, I'm going to start. Come on, master." Xia Changqing held his breath and concentrated, ready for battle. Suddenly, Wuxiazi pointed his finger at Xia Changqing. Xia Changqing groaned and immediately clenched his teeth. He felt a cramp in his lower abdomen. As if a switch was turned on, the sound of air leakage sounded. If you listen carefully, you can know that this sound is clearly coming from Xia Changqing's body. The so-called dispersing power is to expel all the true energy in the body, and the true energy is dispersed from the meridians and acupoints. This is a very painful process. At this time, Wuxiazi also became a little nervous. He stared at Xia Changqing's condition without blinking. If there is something wrong, he will take action at the first time. Half an hour. Unlike the usual practice of abolishing other people's martial arts, the process of actively dispersing power cannot be too fast. If it is too fast, it will cause irreversible damage to the meridians and even damage the danshan. This is just like a flood discharge from a dam. If only a small hole is opened, the flood can only flow out of this small hole. If the hole is opened wide, the turbulent water flow may directly destroy the dam. Now Xia Changqing's body is like a reservoir, and the true ki is like a stream. Only by controlling the speed of the outflowing water can the reservoir be damaged. At a certain moment, Wuxiazi's eyes flashed, and he pointed out again. Suddenly, the leaking sound in the room stopped abruptly. Calm your breath, and concentrate your mind, to adapt to your body. Wuxiazi shouted softly, reminding Xia Changqing. Xia Changqing still closed his eyes, and did not answer. Now his face has turned pale. Because of the dispersion of power, he now feels a sense of emptiness in his body, which makes him very uncomfortable. Stopping the dispersion of power halfway is something Wuxiazi had told Xia Changqing earlier. The dispersion of power cannot be done in one go, otherwise it will cause great damage to the body. So when the energy was dispersed for an hour, Wuxiazi would take action to stop the leakage of true energy. Half an hour later, Xia Changqing had completely adapted to the current feeling, and he said, "Master, continue." "Okay." Wuxiazi agreed, pointed his finger again, and continued to disperse the energy. The process of dispersing the energy alone lasted for a whole day, intermittently, and Xia Changqing also suffered for a whole day. When the last trace of true energy ran out of his body, Xia Changqing was already shaky, his face was pale and frightening, and he looked like a dead person. "Open your mouth." Wuxiazi shouted softly. Xia Changqing immediately opened his mouth obediently, and the pill that the genius doctor had prepared in advance was sent into his mouth. As soon as a pill entered his mouth, Xia Changqing swallowed it. Silently recite the formula of the Xia heart method to generate new true energy in your body. Wuxiazi shouted again. Xia Changqing was quick to follow the advice, and the mighty power of the elixir was dissolved in his body, reaching the 8 extraordinary meridians and more than 700 acupoints. Because he had already had experience in cultivating internal strength, the process of recultivating the free and easy mind method and giving birth to the first trace of true ki was very smooth. After the first trace of true ki was born, the next process was simple. The elixir refined by the miracle doctor helped Xia Changqing block the leaking acupoints in his body and warmed up the meridians. Then, strands of true ki came out of nothing and gathered in Xia Changqing's danshan, flowing through the body along the meridians. 5 days passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Xia Changqing's door was finally opened from the inside. At this time, Guan Wei also walked out of his room. After seeing Xia Changqing, he was about to say hello, but was suddenly stunned. "Changqing, I found that you are a little different. Could it be that you have made progress again during this period of seclusion?" Guan Wei said with a smile. At first, they only knew that Xia Changqing was in seclusion, but they didn't know that Xia Changqing was in seclusion to disperse his power. So after seeing Xia Changqing's changed appearance, Guan Wei's eyes were full of doubt. At this time, Xia Changqing had lost a lot of weight due to the dissipation of his power, and his face was sallow, but his eyes were unusually bright, and there seemed to be light flowing in them. "Zizi, Changqing, what's wrong with you? Are you possessed?" Speaking of the 4 people who were possessed, Guan Wen's expression was stunned, and his smile quickly disappeared. Are they really possessed? Guan Wen shouted in dismay. No, I have to go and find master quickly. Changqing, go back to your room and rest first. Don't run around. I'll let master come to see you. Guan Wen didn't even give Xia Changqing a chance to say anything, and he disappeared in a flash. Chapter 238 Retreat. Because Guan Wen lied about military intelligence, there was a lot of commotion in Xiaoyao Valley. Only with Wuxia's suppression did Xiaoyao Valley calm down. Wuxia, who liked peace, quickly punished Guan Wen and Dongfang Weiming, who were the most active, and drove them out of Xiaoyao Valley to Luoyang City to do business. Xia Changqing wanted to explain something, but he immediately realized that this was just an excuse. Even if there was no such incident, Wuxia would have sent Guan Wen and Dongfang Weiming out. As mentioned earlier, a large part of the financial source of Xiaoyao Valley depends on the weapons made by Liaohu. Liaohu's products must be fine. However, if there are people who produce, there must be people who sell. We can't expect buyers to take the initiative to come to Xiaoyao Valley to pick up the goods. Moreover, the location of Xiaoyao Valley is remote, and not many people know about it, so most of the time it is the disciples of Xiaoyao Valley who take the initiative to go out of the valley to sell. It's better to leave, and I can have 2 days of peace after leaving. Xia Changqing thought secretly. After watching Guan Wen and Dongfang Weiming leave, Xia Changqing first went to Wanggaya village in person to thank the divine doctor for the elixir he had made for him. If it weren't for the elixir made by the divine doctor, he would not have been able to recover so quickly. You little brat, you really don't know the seriousness of the matter. Even though Xia Changqing had already finished dispersing his energy, the divine doctor couldn't help but scold him. Put your hand here, let me feel your pulse, don't leave any sequelae. Although the divine doctor blamed him, he couldn't hide his deep concern. Xia Changqing followed suit and put his wrist in front of the divine doctor. At this time, he must not disobey the divine doctor's wishes. The divine doctor put his fingers on Xia Changqing's pulse, closed his eyes, and carefully felt his pulse. After a long time, the doctor finally opened his eyes and said, I don't know what you want. You have such a good skill, but now it's all gone. Your martial arts skills are not even as good as mine. Your old man has magical skills. Even before I lost my skills, I was definitely not your opponent. Xia Changqing flattered him seriously. Shen Xiangyan on the side laughed. At this point, the doctor glared at his daughter in reproach, and he was embarrassed to keep a straight face. Alas, although you have successfully lost your skills, and my elixir has protected your meridians are still damaged. I will prescribe a medicine for you. Take it back, and remember to take it on time. It is a great favor that cannot be thanked. In addition, the doctor also taught him the teachings. Xia Changqing really didn't know how to repay him. Holding the medicine prepared by the doctor in his hand, Xia Changqing returned to Xiaoyao Valley. Because of the loss of power, Xia Changqing is no match for anyone now. He didn't know whether Guan Wen and others would take the opportunity to retaliate, but he still had to take precautions. So after returning to the valley, Xia Changqing went into his room and began to retreat. Every day, Liaohu brought him meals. Except for eating, sleeping, and going to the toilet, Xia Changqing was immersed in restoring his strength. Before he recovered to his peak, he would never give Guan Wen and others the opportunity to retaliate against him. There are no years in the mountains, but 1,000 years have passed in the world. The chill of spring soon disappeared, and the summer days with the sound of cicadas passed day by day. In a blink of an eye, the pace of time has gone through more than half a year, and autumn has come quietly. Squeak, the movement of the wooden door opening made a melodious sound in the friction. Xia Changqing stepped out of the room and stretched his waist. He finished another day of practice. After recultivating the Xiaoyao heart method, Xia Changqing's strength has recovered by nearly half. Although the amount of true ki is far different from before the dispersal of the power, the quality is far better than before. Xia Changqing lifted his robe and walked slowly to the backyard. He had just recovered a little strength during this period. Every day, he would come to Wuxia to practice. Under Wu Xiao's feeding, Xia Changqing had new insights in both boxing and swordsmanship, and his martial arts reached a higher level. Master! Xia Changqing shouted to Wu Xiaozi, who was fiddling with his small garden. Wu Xiaozi, who had already noticed Xia Changqing's arrival, turned around reluctantly. He looked at his apprentice with some depression, and regretted why he told him about dispersing the power and recultivating. He didn't realize that his apprentice would have the character of martial arts fanatic. He really went astray. Isn't it better to grow flowers and plants? He wanted to send Xia Changqing to find someone else to teach him moves. Wangaya village had many good players, but he was worried that the people in Wangaya village would laugh at him as an irresponsible master. It really embarrassed Wu Xiaozi. Disciple, the sun is so bright today, why don't we play a few games of chess? Wouldn't it be wonderful? Xia Changqing stared at Wu Xiaozi with empty eyes, completely ignoring Wu Xiaozi's embarrassment, and just staring hard. Master, I still have some questions about the Xianzi swordsmanship. I really don't want to play chess. If I can't figure out what these moves are, I can't even sleep or eat. Xia Changqing said to Wu Xiaozi earnestly, Master, can you bear to see your apprentice unable to sleep? If I can't sleep, I will definitely become thinner and thinner, and finally die. Master, can you bear to see me die? After hearing this, Wu Xiaozi's eyes twitched violently. His apprentice was a ruthless person, and he cursed himself to die. Okay, I promise you. Ahem. As a master, it is of course normal to answer questions for the apprentice. How can I refuse you casually? A moment later, Xia Changqing had already fought with Wu Xiaozi. Within 10 moves, Xia Changqing could still fight back and forth with Wu Xiaozi. After 30 moves, Xia Changqing could only barely resist. After 50 moves, Xia Changqing was completely at a disadvantage. Before he could make 3 moves, Wu Xiaozi knocked his sword out of his hand. This situation has been going on for a while, otherwise Wu Xiaozi would not be so annoyed by Xia Changqing. Xia Changqing didn't care whether Wu Xiaozi was annoyed or not. As long as he was thick-skinned enough, he could keep pestering Wu Xiaozi to practice with him. After being defeated, Xia Changqing ignored Wu Xiaozi's chanking and directly picked up his sword. He left the back garden thoughtfully and returned to his room. At this time, Xia Changqing's mind had long been immersed in various moves, and he was indifferent to external things. This obsessive attitude is also the reason why Xia Changqing's martial arts can advance by leaps and bounds. Chapter 239 Heroes Conference. Thanks to his body, transformed by magic and white blood, Xia Changqing's memory is very strong. The scene of sparring with Wu Xiaozi just now has been firmly remembered in his mind, and he can replay it clearly. Xia Changqing learned lessons from it, summed up his experience, and improved his sword moves. Through the recollection of the battle just now, Xia Changqing can easily find that many times, it is not his sword moves that have problems, but his body speed can't keep up. Although from the beginning, Xia Changqing's attitude towards sword practices that only speed can't be broken, but his speed is not fast enough, and he can't reach the realm of sword first. Martial arts pay attention to the 3 treasures of spirit, energy, and spirit, and there are different realms of refining essence into ki, refining ki into spirit, and refining spirit into emptiness. Only when the spirit, energy, and spirit are cultivated to the peak and the 3 are combined into 1 can the realm of 3 flowers gathering at the top and 5 ki returning to the origin be reached. It's a pity that even Wu Xiaozi is far from reaching such a realm. Xia Changqing even doubts that no one in this world can reach the realm of unity of spirit, energy, and spirit. After all, this is just a low-level martial arts world. However, Xia Changqing did not intend to be too ambitious. He still had a long way to go, and did not have time to think about random things. Just as Xia Changqing was thinking about his own martial arts path in the room, Wu Xiaozi also met his eldest disciple again. Some time ago, Gu Yuxuan left Xiaoyao Valley to go out for business. Now that the business is done, he returns to Xiaoyao Valley. Of course, the first thing he does is to pay a visit to Wu Xiaozi. Master, your disciple is back. Wu Xiaozi looked at Gu Yuxuan with satisfaction. This eldest disciple was sensible. At least he never pestered him to practice with him. Disciple, did you go out smoothly this time? Gu Yuxuan replied respectfully, Master, everything went well. But there is one thing I hope you can make a decision on. What is it? You can't make a decision yourself, and you still need me to make a decision? Wuxia also became curious. Master, have you forgotten that the Young Heroes Conference is about to be held again? Who will our Xia Valley send out this time? It's up to you to decide. The Young Heroes Conference. Wuxia murmured in a low voice. It's been a long time since our Xia Valley won the first place in the Young Heroes Conference. As soon as these words came out, Gu Yuxuan's face quickly flashed with embarrassment. Master, it's my incompetence that failed to bring honor to our Xia sect. Gu Yuxuan quickly apologized. He was an honest man and felt from the bottom of his heart that this matter was indeed his fault. Yes, Gu Yuxuan had also participated in the Young Heroes Conference, but it was a pity that at that time, he was far from the title of the first person of the younger generation in the martial arts world today, and he failed to bring back the honor of the champion for Xia Valley. As for the thorns, it's better not to mention them. But to be honest, Wuxia didn't take the Young Heroes Conference too seriously. Their Xia Valley was different from other sects, and they didn't take these false names seriously. However, the Young Heroes Conference is a good opportunity for training. Since someone has conveyed this news through Gu Yuxuan, Wuxia doesn't mind sending a disciple to participate. Suddenly, Wuxia thought of something. If he sends Xia Changqing to participate in the Young Heroes Conference, he won't have to bother himself. It will take at least 10 days or half a month to go from Xia Valley to the venue of the Young Heroes Conference. He definitely won't be able to come back. Wuxia smiled at Gu Yuxuan with satisfaction. It was really good news that this eldest disciple was reliable. But Wuxia changed his mind and thought that if he directly designated Xia Changqing to go, Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming would definitely have objections. Should he let their brothers compete first and decide the winner by the win or loss? Judging from his recent fights with that brat, Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming are not the brat's opponents. Yuxuan, tell your fellow apprentices about this matter, let them have dinner together tonight, and we will discuss who should be sent to the Young Heroes Conference this time. Wuxia instructed Gu Yuxuan. It was not easy for him to be a master. No matter what he did, he had to be fair in everything so as not to be criticized. Young Heroes Conference? Xia Changqing slowly finished his work and looked at Gu Yuxuan in surprise. He really had not heard of this matter. Because of some bad memories, Gu Yuxuan did not have much good feelings about the Young Heroes Conference. It is to gather the young people in the world together and let everyone compete to decide the number one young man. Is there any benefit? Xia Changqing thought for a while and asked. If there was no benefit, he would not go all the way to compete with a group of young people. Gu Yuxuan's mouth twitched. His apprentice was really realistic. Of course there are benefits. As long as you win the first place in the Youth Hero Conference, you will be famous in the world, and you will also get a generous reward if you win the championship. Oh, I see. Xia Changqing said with a little lack of interest. Fame is not in line with his character at all. If he has the skills, he might as well practice more. If the reward includes Yi Jingjing, he would consider it. Who will participate? The old master will have his own considerations. Don't forget to have dinner together in the evening. Gu Yuxuan didn't say anything more. After a word of advice, he left and turned to go to Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming's room to convey this matter. Time soon came to the evening. 5 brothers, plus Master Wuxia and servant Liu Hu, all the people in Xia Valley gathered together for a rare occasion. Dinner was of course made by Dongfang Weiming. Now Dongfang Weiming's cooking skills, even if he is not in Xia Valley, he can become a top chef outside. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 flavors of dishes, Wuxia suddenly put down his chopsticks and coughed lightly. The 5 disciples immediately stopped eating, as they knew that their master was about to start talking. Ahem. Wuxia's eyes swept over Xia Changqing, Guan Wei, and Dongfang Weiming one by one, and he slowly said, I'm sure you all know about the Young Heroes Conference. Do you want to sign up? After Wuxia finished speaking, he turned his eyes to Xia Changqing. Xia Changqing looked at his nose and his heart, as if it was none of his business, which made Wuxia angry. Then, Wuxia turned his eyes to Guan Wei. Guan Wei frowned and thought for a moment, then opened his mouth. Just as he was about to speak, he was interrupted by Wuxiazi. I remember that you three brothers have been my disciples for a while. This Young Heroes Conference is the time to test the results of your cultivation. I decided to let you three brothers go to the Young Heroes Conference together. Chapter 244 People. As soon as Wuxiazi said this, the table suddenly became quiet. Xia Changqing and the other two looked at each other. From the eyes of Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming, one could clearly see the eager light. Okay, master, don't worry, the three of us brothers will definitely not bring shame to Xiaoyao Valley. Guan Wei stood up from his chair and said excitedly. He was not a person who could stand loneliness. The lonely life in Xiaoyao Valley had made Guan Wei eager to go out and explore. Not only Guan Wei, but Dongfang Weiming's eyes were also full of excitement. Since entering Xiaoyao Valley, the farthest place he had left was Luoyang City. Now there is such a good opportunity to go out. Even if Wuxiazi only allows one person to participate in the Youth Hero Conference, he will strive for it. However, Xia Changqing was unwilling to wade into this muddy water. Master, since both junior brothers want to go, let them go. There is no need for me to follow them. I believe that the two of them will definitely win glory for our Xiaoyao Valley. Xia Changqing put down the chopsticks in his hand and said in a light tone. Seeing Xia Changqing's calm face, which didn't look like he was joking, Wuxiazi paused. His purpose was not to trick Xia Changqing out. Now he had to go, even if he didn't want to. Changqing, your two junior brothers' martial arts are not as good as yours after all. The Young Heroes Conference is full of hidden talents. Your senior brother suffered a loss at the conference. You should not underestimate the young heroes who participated in the Young Heroes Conference. If you don't go, the master will be worried. At this point, Wuxiazi sighed and even choked up. To be honest, there are not many disciples in Xiaoyao Valley, and we haven't won the championship of the Young Heroes Conference for many years. I don't know how those sects in the world view Xiaoyao Valley. I'm too embarrassed to go out and see people with my old face. Seeing that the Young Heroes Conference is about to be held, I have been thinking day and night that Changqing can win this honor for our Xiaoyao Valley. I didn't expect that you don't want to go now. Oh, forget it, forget it. If you don't want to go, then don't go. At most, Master can't raise his head in front of fellow martial artists. Xia Changqing's mouth twitched slightly. He understood this clumsy provocation. Wuxiazi clearly wanted him to participate in the Young Heroes Conference. After saying this, if he still refused, wouldn't it be unfilial? Seeing that Wuxiazi was about to open his mouth and talk for a long time, Xia Changqing quickly stopped him. Master, you won. Can't I go? By the way, where is the Young Heroes Conference held? After hearing what Xia Changqing said, Wuxiazi's eyes flashed with pride and then disappeared immediately. Changqing, I'm very pleased that you can think so. As for the venue of the Young Heroes Conference, your eldest brother is familiar with it. I think he should lead the team this time. Wuxiazi looked at Gu Yuxun. Yuxun, do you have any questions? I have no questions, Master. Gu Yuxun is an honest man and doesn't know what it means to refuse. Even if the Young Heroes Conference was the sad place where he was defeated 9 times, now that the master has given an order, he will obey the arrangement immediately. Wuxiazi smiled with satisfaction and turned his eyes to the position of Jingxi. Among the 5 brothers, 4 people have decided to go to the Young Heroes Conference, and only Jingxi will stay in Xiaoyao Valley. How can this be possible? If you want peace, you have to be thorough. Wuxiazi immediately spoke up again. Jingji, since the other brothers are going to the Young Heroes Conference, you should follow them too. It will be better for the 5 of you to be together, to take care of each other. Jingji had a sour face. His relationship with the others was not good to begin with, so he naturally did not want to go with them. I won't go. I have other things to do, so I don't have time to participate in the activities of playing house. Jingji's words were full of disdain for the Young Heroes Conference. As soon as these words came out, Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming's faces immediately looked ugly. No wonder Jingji didn't get along well with the others. Master, since the second brother doesn't want to, don't make it difficult for him. I just don't know if the second brother has participated in the Young Heroes Conference. Guan Wei stood up and said, with a simple smile on his face, pretending to ask casually. Of course I have participated in the Young Heroes Conference. It's nothing. Jingji did not see through Guan Wen's sinister intentions and blurted out. Oh. It's nothing. It looks like second brother must have won a good ranking in the Young Heroes Conference. I wonder if he won the championship? Guan Wen's affected tone was disgusting. Wuxiazi had already said that Xiaoyao Valley hadn't won a championship for a long time. Now Guan Wen was asking knowingly, which was clearly rubbing salt into Jinx's wounds. Xia Changqing could only say, well done. Even Xia Changqing, who had always been generous, was annoyed with Jingxi, the uneducated brat. Now what Guan Wen said was exactly what he wanted. Sure enough, Jingxi, who came to his senses, looked ugly in an instant. He stared at Guan Wen with anger. If Wuxiazi hadn't been there, he might have slammed the table and stood up. Even so, Jingxi didn't want to stay here anymore. He suddenly stood up from his chair, which scared Guan Wen instead. Jingxi looked at Guan Wen coldly. Junior brother, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Senior brother didn't get a good ranking in the Youth Hero Conference. I hope you can learn from your lesson and win the championship of the Youth Hero Conference. Everyone can hear that Jingxi is not blessing Guan Wen. He sneered and turned away. The smile on Guan Wen's face gradually disappeared. He looked at Wuxiazi carefully, feeling upset. He didn't know if this would cause Wuxiazi's disgust. Looking at Jinx's leaving figure, Wuxiazi unconsciously stroked his flowing beard. Of course, he also saw the discord between Jingxi and other brothers. It's just that he can teach Jingxi a superb martial arts, but he can't change Jinx's character. Wuxiazi saw the shadow of Xuanmengzi in Jingxi, which made him deeply worried. He just hoped that Jingxi would not follow Xuanmengzi's old path. Watching Jingxi leave angrily, everyone now has no appetite. It's time to end this banquet. The matter regarding the Young Heroes Conference has been settled. Your eldest brother will lead the team and we will set off soon. Chapter 241 Loser. 3 days passed in a flash, and the day of the Young Heroes Conference was approaching. On this day, after getting up early in the morning, the disciples of Xiaoyao Valley began to pack their luggage. The journey was long, and they had to set off as soon as possible. When you go out, remember not to act rashly. You must listen to your eldest brother's instructions and everything. The four of you should go early and come back early. Although he wanted his disciples to get out as soon as possible, when the day of their departure came, Wuxiazi was reluctant to let them go. The specific manifestation was that the old man became nagging and pulled everyone to carefully instruct them. Master, don't worry, I will definitely take good care of my junior brothers. Gu Yuxuan clasped his fists towards Wuxiazi and turned to leave Xiaoyao Valley. There is no such thing as a mother-in-law in the children of Jianghu. In addition, Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming had been looking forward to the trip to the Young Heroes Conference. After leaving Xiaoyao Valley, they forgot about their master Wuxiazi. There were 4 people in the group, and each of them carried a package. Gu Yuxuan was empty-handed, Xia Changqing carried a sword, Guan Wei carried a knife, and Dongfang Weiming held a stick. The 4 brothers had different majors in martial arts, so they carried different weapons. The 4 of them left Xiaoyao Valley on foot, and soon they came to the fork in the road. Surprisingly, at the fork in the road, there was already a graceful girl in white waiting for a long time. Miss Xiangyan, why are you here? The 4 of them saw Shen Xiangyan together, and the first one to greet her was the carefree Guan Wei. Wangai village and Xiaoyao Valley are neighbors, so they naturally know each other. Brother Gu, Brother Guan, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Shen Xiangyan came up to them, also dressed simply as if she was going on a long journey. Xiangyan, you are waiting for us here specifically. Are you going to attend the Youth Hero Conference with us? Guan Wei said with sudden enlightenment, and then he showed an excited look. This is really great. How could it be bad? Compared with 4 grown men traveling together, of course, it would not be hard to have a beautiful girl accompany you, even if you are traveling. Miss Shen. While Guan Wei and Shen Xiangyan were talking, Dongfang Weiming also came up carefully. After opening his mouth several times, he finally said hello in a low voice. Brother Gu, I'll ask you to take care of me along the way. Young man Dongfang, long time no see. Shen Xiangyan greeted everyone one by one. Gu Yuxuan smiled gently. With Changqing here, Why do you need me to take care of you? Brother Gu, what are you talking about? Shen Xiangan looked at Xia Changqing carefully and said shyly. Xia Changqing only had a bitter smile in his heart. This expression clearly told others that her attitude towards him was different from that of others. Shen Xiangan did not hide her secret love for Xia Changqing, and anyone could see it. After saying hello, Shen Xiangan immediately came to Xia Changqing. Brother Xia, my father said that you have to take good care of me on this trip, otherwise he will never let you off when we get back. Shen Xiangan showed a sly smile on her face, and her eyes were full of Xia Changqing. The 4 people became 5 people, and continued their journey. Gu Yuxuan walked in the front, Xia Changqing and Shen Xiangan walked in the middle, and Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming fell to the end. Alas. A sigh rang out at the same time. Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming looked at each other, and they both found the frustrated look of losers in each other's eyes. After being stunned for a moment, the 2 people felt a sense of mutual appreciation at the same time, as they were both wanderers in the world. At this moment, Xia Changqing suddenly turned his head and frowned at Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming. He wondered if these 2 people were saying bad things about him in their hearts. What are you 2 dawdling about? Why don't you walk faster? Coming. Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming looked at each other and gave each other an encouraging look. As a real man, there are many beautiful women in the world, so why should you love only one flower? The 2 young men with the same feelings walked hand in hand, past Xia Changqing and Shen Xiangan without looking sideways, and walked in front of them. Brother Xia, what's wrong with them? It's so strange. Shen Xiangan leaned close to Xia Changqing's ear and asked in a puzzled voice. Xia Changqing touched his chin. He looked at the backs of Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming and inexplicably thought of a classic saying, look at those 2 people, they look like 2 dogs. Ahem. Xia Changqing coughed twice and quickly put aside this thought that shouldn't have. They are all brothers from the same school. How could he think like this? Maybe they are in a hurry to get on the road. Xiangan, let's walk faster and get to Luoyang City as soon as possible. Xia Changqing changed the subject and took Shen Xiangan to take 2 quick steps. In fact, Xia Changqing knew very well what Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming were thinking. The Book of Songs says, a graceful lady is a good match for a gentleman. Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming are both young and full of vigor. They naturally yearn for ignorant love. In Xiaoyao Valley and Wangaya Village, there is only one young girl like Shen Xiangan. The key point is that this girl is so beautiful. It is also human nature for the 2 to have admiration for each other. However, Shen Xiangan's attitude towards Xia Changqing is obvious to all. Although Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming have intentions, they have to face reality bravely. Let's get back to the point. Xia Changqing and his group of 5 people. The first destination of this trip is Luoyang City. The venue of the Youth Heroes Conference is located near the Shaolin Temple in Sangshan. Only a sect like Shaolin Temple has the foundation to host the Youth Heroes Conference. Although Luoyang City is not very far from Shaolin Temple, it would take them forever to get there if they just walked. Fortunately, Guan Wei is not only a disciple of Xiaoyao Valley, but also the young escort leader of Changhang Escort Agency. Changhang Escort Agency travels all over the world, so it is more than enough to spare some manpower to lead the team to the Young Heroes Conference. Xia Changqing and others came to Luoyang City and first paid a visit to Changhang. With Guan Wei's mediation, they successfully got a horse each. That's right, Xiaoyao Valley doesn't even have horses. These disciples have to borrow some horses from Changhang Escort Agency when they go out. Originally, according to Changhang's intention, he wanted to send a escort to lead them to the Young Heroes Conference. However, although Gu Yuxuan looks gentle, he is a strong person inside. Although Guan Wei is the young escort leader of Changhang Escort Agency, it is their own business to participate in the Young Heroes Conference. Borrowing a few horses is not a big deal, but asking others to send people to escort them is unreasonable. Chapter 242 Attack. After declining Changhang's kindness, the 5 of them rode out of Luoyang and headed straight for the Young Heroes Conference. Gu Yuxuan was a steady and prudent man, and the roads he chose were all official roads with many pedestrians. Although the official roads were slightly detours, they were safer. Even bandits who cut off the roads would not be stupid enough to rob on the official roads. Xia Changqing and his group did not need to rush, so they were naturally different from the escort of the Changhang escort agency, and they did not have to take shortcuts. Go. Guan Wei lightly kicked the horse's belly, slightly speeding up the pace, and caught up with Gu Yuxuan in front. Big brother, don't you think we are wasting too much time by taking this official road? Why don't we take a detour and get to Songshan Shaolin Temple faster? Gu Yuxuan turned his head and glanced at Guan Wei with a gentle smile on his face. Junior brother Guan, don't worry, there's still some time before the Youth Heroes Conference. We have enough time to get there. No, big brother, of course I know we have plenty of time, but it's tiring to travel. If we get there earlier, won't we be able to rest earlier and conserve our energy for the Youth Heroes Conference? Gu Yuxuan nodded thoughtfully. Junior brother, you're right. Guan Wei was delighted, thinking that Gu Yuxuan accepted his suggestion, but after Gu Yuxuan finished speaking, there was no further news, only the sound of galloping horses. Big brother? Guan Wei couldn't help but remind him. Well, junior brother, do you have anything else to do? Gu Yuxuan asked in confusion. For a moment, Guan Wei was also dumbfounded by Gu Yuxuan's operation, and a question mark seemed to appear on his forehead. When I slowly typed this question mark, it was not me who had a problem, but you. Big brother. Guan Wei was anxious, and his voice became louder. Since you think I'm right, should we take the small road? I admit that what you said is right, but we still take the official road. Gu Yuxuan shook his head and refused. Ah. Guan Wei shouted in confusion. Big brother, why? Gu Yuxuan smiled and explained. Master asked me to take good care of you, so I have the responsibility to ensure your safety. Big brother, there is nothing dangerous happening if you take the small road. Under Gu Yuxuan's calm gaze, Guan Wei spoke without confidence. This wilderness is not as safe as imagined, although these people are also from a famous school, and their martial arts are not comparable to those of ordinary people in the martial arts world. It's just that it's better to be safe than to be safe. Gu Yuxuan would rather spend a little more effort than take risks. Guan Wei was a little discouraged. He saw that Gu Yuxuan had made up his mind and would not be swayed by his words. After thinking for a while, he cast his eyes to where Xia Changqing was. Among the 5 people in the group, if there was anyone who could influence Gu Yuxuan's thoughts, it must be Xia Changqing. But when Guan Wei saw Shen Xiangan with a smile like a flower, his heart seemed to be blocked. He felt very uncomfortable and didn't even think about asking Xia Changqing what he thought. Just take the official road. At most, he would suffer a little more. Anyway, he could bear it. Guan Wei thought a little dejectedly. He suggested taking the small road to speed up the process and prevent Shen Xiangan from suffering more. It's a pity that the fallen flowers have intentions, but the flowing water is ruthless. That's all. Riding beside Guan Wei, Dongfang Weiming looked at his 4th brother strangely. He didn't know why he looked so dejected and hit hard. At this time, 3 days had passed since Xia Changqing and his companions left Luoyang City. The long journey made it difficult for Shen Xiangan, who always loved cleanliness, to keep clean and fresh. Brother, there is a tea shed ahead. Let's go there to rest. As Dongfang Weiming's voice sounded, Xia Changqing and his companions also saw the tea shed located next to the official road in front of them. The tea shed was not big, but there were 6 horses tied outside. It can be seen that the popularity of the tea shed should be quite good. Xia Changqing and his companions came closer, dismounted, and tied the horses to the wooden stakes by themselves. In the tea shed, a father and daughter were busy. Before Xia Changqing and his companions came, there were already 6 strong men sitting at 2 tables, with unsheathed long swords placed on the table. The moment Xia Changqing and his companions stepped into the tea shed, the 6 strong men all looked over here, and a fierce aura came over them. Even Guan Wei, who was always jumping around, noticed the unusual atmosphere, and the smile on his face stiffened a little. Shen Xiangan screamed in a low voice, and could not help hiding behind Xia Changqing. Don't be afraid. Xia Changqing comforted lightly, and glanced around calmly, and looked at Gu Yuxuan. Both of them showed vigilance in their eyes. Dear guests, please sit down for a while. Do you need anything? At this moment, the owner of the tea shed suddenly called out and instantly broke the solemn atmosphere. The 6 strong men with knives turned their heads as if nothing had happened and continued to drink tea expressionlessly. The vigilance in Xia Changqing and Gu Yuxian's eyes still did not dissipate. They walked to a table in the corner and sat down. "Boss, bring 2 pots of tea and some food." "Okay, please wait a moment, sir." The 5 people sat down steadily. No one spoke, but communicated silently with their eyes. Guan Wei and Dong Fang Weiming had already put their hands on their weapons, ready to fight at any time. A moment later, the young daughter brought a tea tray and delivered 2 pots of tea to the table of Xia Changqing and others. The service was quite good. A teacup was placed in front of each person. The young woman seemed not to notice the solemn atmosphere. She smiled and picked up the teapot to fill everyone with tea. But Xia Changqing felt that the woman's smile was too charming. After filling the tea, the woman said with a smile, "Young men, you must be exhausted from the journey. Drink 2 sips of tea and take a rest. Anyone can see that the atmosphere in the tea house is a bit wrong. Only crazy people will drink the other party's tea." Guan Wei was the first one who couldn't help it. He slammed the table and stood up, unsheathed the long sword in his hand, and said sternly, "Who are you? How dare you ambush us here?" Silently, the strong men on the 2 tables all stood up, grabbed the long swords on the table, and looked at Guan Wei coldly. The young woman standing in front of the table of Xia Changqing and others lost the smile on her face. She stared at Guan Wei with cold eyes, and the resentment in her eyes was chilling. Chapter 243 Defeating the Enemy. The young woman laughed suddenly. Her voice was so sharp that people could not help but frown. "A few rookies who have just started out. Why don't you drink the good tea I carefully brewed for you? Why do you want to suffer?" Guan Wei did not respond to the woman's words. He shouted, "Witch, I will chop you with a knife." Before he finished speaking, Guan Wei raised his knife, stepped on the bench, stood up, and chopped down the woman's head with a knife. The woman's face turned cold, and one arm, like a snake, snaked up along Guan Wei's long knife, and grabbed the back of the long knife. "Let go." Guan Wei gritted his teeth, and struggled to grab his long knife. Although the strange woman looked young, her martial arts skills could not be underestimated. Her palm tightly grabbed Guan Wei's long knife. No matter how hard Guan Wei tried, the long knife did not move at all. This method of grabbing a white blade with bare hands is not something that people who are not bold and careful would dare to do. "Brother, I'm here to help you." Dong Fang Weiming shouted, and made a stick flower in his hand. The iron stick whistled, and brought gusts of wind. The shadows of the sticks covered the woman's body, forcing her to let go of her palm and let Guan Wei take back her long sword. Before Dong Fang Weiming could attack again, the woman jumped back and sneered, "Is this the way of a righteous young man? 2 grown men bully a weak woman like me?" Guan Wei, who was careless and had his weapon taken away, heard this and was ashamed and angry, and was about to raise his sword to fight again. At this time, Gu Yuxian stretched out his hand to stop him. "Girl, what grudge do we have against you, that you set up a trap here to wait for us? Haha, if there is no grudge, can I not kill you? Stop talking nonsense. Today is the day you will die. If you want to blame someone, blame you for going to attend the Young Heroes Conference." After hearing this, Gu Yuxian couldn't help but look at Xia Changqing. His eyes were filled with shock. The strange woman's words contained too much information. The other party was not them, but just because this road was the only way to the Young Heroes Conference, they were killed. Doesn't that mean that other young heroes from other sects who participated in the Young Heroes Conference have already been killed? Go, kill them all. The strange woman shouted coldly, leaving Gu Yuxian no time to think carefully. The most important thing at the moment was to survive this fatal disaster. Changqing, don't hold back. Gu Yuxian shouted softly, flew up, and took the initiative to meet him. He shouted coldly, slapped away the knife that was chopped towards him, turned his wrist, and directly slapped the strong man's chest. Crack. There was a barely detectable sound of bones breaking, and the strong man was struck by lightning. He was hit by a palm and flew out. His chest sank, and he knocked a tea table to the ground. He exhaled more than he inhaled, and it seemed that he was already dead. The power of a palm is so terrifying. Don't underestimate Gu Yuxian. The title of the first person of the young generation is not a false reputation. The remaining people were shocked and angry. In a flash, 3 people were separated to deal with Gu Yuxian together. Guan Wei and Dan Fang Weiming, one fighting one person, although they were at ease, but it was not easy to win. In addition, there was a strange woman standing by, making them unable to move. Xia Changqing drew out his sword leisurely, turned to Shen Xiangyan and said, "Xiangyan, stay here and don't move." It wasn't that Xia Changqing was pretending to be powerful, but he could see that Gu Yuxian was more than capable of fighting 3 people alone. Among the people present on the other side, only the woman was a master worth noting. Xia Changqing held up his sword and handed it forward steadily, presenting the petition. A sharp sword intent locked onto the strange woman from a distance. Her face changed slightly, and a slight tingling sensation rose in her heart. The woman had just locked her sights on Xia Changqing, who had been slow to join the battle when Xia Changqing had already moved. This move was like a bolt of lightning, and a black shadow flashed by. "Master, be careful." The tea house owner shouted shrilly and leaped in front of the woman with all his might. His voice no longer sounded old, but had the crispness of a young person. The scene seemed to be still. Xia Changqing's figure slowly appeared behind the woman, as if he had just stood there. The long sword still showed the momentum of giving away, but there was a drop of condensed blood at the tip of the sword, which made people see that the sword had drunk blood. Xia Changqing stretched out his hand and flicked the sword lightly, and the sword body hummed, shaking off the blood on the tip of the sword. Behind him, the young man dressed in a tea house slowly fell to the ground with an unwilling look on his face, and blood could not stop flowing from his chest. At that moment, Xia Changqing's long sword had pierced the opponent's heart. If the young man had not blocked in front, the one who fell at this time should be the woman called the Hall Master. What a pity. Xia Changqing sighed softly in his heart. This accumulated attack needed to be started again. Xia Changqing put away the sword and slowly turned around. The woman still had her back to him, as if she had not yet woken up from Xia Changqing's previous attack. With the long sword in his hand pointing far away, Xia Changqing was ready to strike again. However, at this moment, the strange woman actually leaped forward, stepped on the tea table twice, and jumped out of the tea shed, and flew onto the back of a horse. A black light flashed in the woman's hand, and the horse rope broke with a sound. Go. The woman kicked the horse's belly fiercely, and ran away in the blink of an eye. Before Xia Changqing could chase her, black lights flew out from the woman's hands one after another. Xia Changqing quickly raised his sword to block them. After a few crisp sounds of ding dong, 3 bone-piercing nails with cold light fell to the ground. Xia Changqing looked at this scene in a daze. He didn't expect that the woman would run so fast that he didn't react. This escape technique is simply perfect, and with the blocking of hidden weapons, it is no longer practical to chase her at this time. Turning around, Xia Changqing cut off the arms of the knife-wielding strong men with one sword, and put the sword on their necks. "Tell me, who are you?" Xia Changqing asked calmly. Guan Wei slapped the man on the head and said, "My senior brother is asking you a question. Why don't you answer it quickly?" In addition to the one who was beaten to death on the spot, 3 of the 6 people survived. At this time, the 3 people knelt side by side, waiting to be questioned. The escape of their own hall master had already made the 3 people's mentality explode. In addition, they were just some small minions, so there was no need to die rather than surrender. The person being questioned by Xia Changqing opened his mouth and was about to answer. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 244 Conspiracy. No one expected that the Xianlan cult would attack the official road, which has always been considered very safe. The 3 Xianlan cult members were not determined people. They told all their identities without any threat from Xia Changqing and others. Xia Changqing also understood the cause and effect of this matter. The news that the Wulin Zhengdao held a youth hero conference had spread throughout the martial arts world long before, and the Xianlan cult naturally knew about it. These minions did not know the reason why the Dragon King issued this order. They were just responsible for execution. The Xianlang cult has two leaders, one is the Heavenly King, and the other is the Dragon King. The two co-founded the Xianlang cult, but the Heavenly King has long been unknown. There are rumors that he has died a long time ago, and there are also rumors that he is just in seclusion in an unknown place. But no matter what the reason is, the Dragon King is the one who is in charge of the Xianlang cult now, and this is unquestionable. The Dragon King issued an order to the entire Xianlang sect, asking the sect members to ambush on the road to the Young Heroes Conference. As long as they look very young, they can be abducted, and those who cannot be abducted must be killed to eliminate future troubles. Although these minions did not tell the purpose of the Dragon King's doing so, Gu Yuxian and Xia Changqing could imagine it. The Xianlang sect is ambitious, and has long set its sights on the Central Plains Wulin, wanting to unify the martial arts world. It's a pity that the major sects in the Central Plains Wulin are not jealous. The Xianlang sect members have ambitions, but they don't have the corresponding strength. It's nothing but a foolish dream to want to unify the martial arts world. This ambush of the younger generation of the major sects may be an attempt by the Xianlang sect. The young people that the major sects can send to participate in the Young Heroes Conference are naturally capable of carrying the tripod. The Xianlang sect is trying to wipe out the whole family. Big brother, what should we do with these three people? Should we kill them with one sword? While Guan Wei was seeking Gu Yuxian's advice, his hand holding the knife was already exerting force. As long as Gu Yuxian agreed, he promised not to let the other party feel pain. Gu Yuxian just shook his head. He first glanced at Xia Changqing. After Xia Changqing gave him a look that said, "You decide for yourself," Gu Yuxian said, "Brother Guan, let them go." "Ah, why, brother? They just wanted to kill us." Guan Wei shouted in confusion. "Brother, they are just the lowest level people in the Xianlang sect. They obey orders and act against their will. Let's forgive them when we can. Besides, we have just promised them that, as long as they tell the truth, we will let them go," Gu Yuxian said lightly. He ignored the three Xianlang sect members who kept kowtowed to him and thanked him. He waved his hand and said, "Go away. Remember, don't do evil in the future." The three Xianlang sect members fled in a panic, without even riding a horse. After coming to his senses, although Guan Wei was still unwilling, he also knew that business was important. "Big brother, what should we do? Should we continue to attend the Young Heroes Conference, or return to Xiao Valley and tell our master about this?" Even Xia Changqing was quietly waiting for Gu Yuxian to make a decision. To be honest, he didn't have much interest in the Young Heroes Conference. Even if he returned home now, it wouldn't matter. The ambition of the Xianlang sect has been revealed. In the middle of the process, it is unknown how many young people from different sects have been killed. Whether this Young Heroes Conference can be held is still a matter of debate. After a brief thought, Gu Yuxian had already made a decision. "Let's continue on our way and rush to Shaolin Temple as soon as possible to tell the masters of Shaolin Temple about the Xianlang sect," Gu Yuxian said with a serious face. "The behavior of the Xianlang sect is not a trivial matter. Since we have learned about the conspiracy of the Xianlang sect, we have the obligation to tell many martial arts fellows. The truth of lips and teeth is cold. I believe everyone knows it." "Okay, big brother, I agree with your opinion." As soon as Gu Yuxian finished speaking, Dong Fang Weiming shouted with blood on his face. He had automatically brought himself into the world of martial arts. "What do you know? You agree with big brother's opinion?" Guan Wei glared at Dong Fang Weiming angrily. "That's the Xianlang sect. Okay. How can we deal with such a behemoth? Maybe there are people from the Xianlang sect waiting for us to fall into the tiger's mouth. Big brother, you must think twice. I think we might as well return to Xiao Valley first and ask master to come out to deal with this matter." After Guan Wei finished speaking so many words in one breath, he looked at Gu Yuxian with expectation. Gu Yuxian didn't look at Guan Wei, but instead looked at Xia Changqing with a questioning look in his eyes. Xia Changqing smiled calmly. "You are the eldest brother, you decide what to do." Perhaps it was Xia Changqing's calm look that reassured Gu Yuxian. He looked around and then said firmly, "We can't run back like cowards. Let's keep going and head to the Young Heroes Conference." Guan Wei noticed Xia Changqing's expression. He knew that Gu Yuxuan would not change his mind easily without Xia Changqing's objection. He sighed in vain and accepted the reality. Well, since you said so, let's keep going. Who cares if he is from the Xianlong sect? I will kill one if he comes, and I will kill two if he comes. Stop playing tricks and go. Gu Yuxuan said unhappily. Here we come. Wait for me. The five of them set out again and headed towards the Shaolin temple in Songshan. Gee. The woman's hoarse voice kept ringing. She rode on a horse, constantly urging the horse to speed up, running like the wind on the forest path. This person was the woman who had just escaped from the tea shed. The tragic sword of Xia Changqing that had just happened in the tea shed had frightened the woman. After passing through the forest, the woman's eyes suddenly lit up, and a vast flat land appeared in front of her. And this land, that was supposed to be deserted, was full of tents piled up together. For this operation, the Xianlong sect sent a large number of people. In addition to the people responsible for the attack in various directions, a large number of people were stationed here, ready to attack at any time and support all directions. Who is coming? The sound of the galloping horses reached the ears of the Xianlong believers who were responsible for vigilance from a distance. When the woman approached, 5 or 6 Xianlong believers surrounded her in the blink of an eye. It's me, make way quickly, I want to see the protector. The woman shouted loudly, and her voice reached the ears of the Xianlong believers, allowing them to quickly recognize who the person was. Chapter 245, Chasing. It's Hall Masterly, get out of the way. The disciples in charge of the alert hurriedly made way to both sides. In the Xianlong sect, the classes of the believers are clearly divided. The woman is the Hall Master. Even if they are doing their duty and stop the woman, they will not be blamed by the guardian. But no one can guarantee that Hall Masterly will not deliberately make things difficult for them in the future. So naturally, this road cannot be blocked casually. Hall Masterly rode his horse directly into the camp. The Xianlong sect is not a member of the army, so the rules of setting up camp will naturally not be followed in the army. No one blamed this Hall Masterly for breaking into the camp. The woman came to the guardian's tent, then dismounted, half knelt on the ground, and said loudly, "Your subordinate Li Xiangxiang wants to see the guardian." After a moment of silence, an old voice came from the big tent. It turns out to be Master Li. Come in. Yes. Li Xiangxiang stood up, opened the curtain, walked into the big tent, and saw an old man bending over the desk looking at something. If Xia Changqing and others were here, they would definitely recognize that this old man was their good uncle Zuan Mingzi. Zuan Mingzi raised his eyelids from the desk. Master Li, didn't you go to ambush those young knights? Why are you in such a mess? Li Xiangxiang half knelt on the ground again and lowered her head. Please forgive my sins. My subordinate met a young man with extremely high martial arts skills. He only attacked with one sword. If someone hadn't blocked it for me, I would have never seen the protector. Zuan Mingzi frowned and said in a stern tone, "Oh, how old did you say that young man was?" Li Xiangxiang carefully recalled Xia Changqing's face. Although they only met briefly, Xia Changqing's calm appearance left a deep impression on her. Reporting to the Dharma protector, the young man is at most 18 or 19 years old, but his swordsmanship is very terrifying. Okay, I know. Zuan Mingzi sighed silently. The Central Plains martial arts world is really full of talents. How can such a young man not be a talent of my Xianlong sect? After sighing, Zuan Mingzi's face quickly turned cold. His hero is my enemy. If such a young man cannot be used by his Xianlong sect, it is better to get rid of him as soon as possible. Master Li, you said that the young man has superb swordsmanship, so how did you escape? Zuan Mingzi stared at Li Xiangxiang quietly, giving her great pressure. Cold sweat fell uncontrollably from her forehead. Dharma protector, although the young man has superb swordsmanship, he does not have enough combat experience. I fought desperately to break through, just hoping to tell the Dharma protector this news. The young man actually has no intention of chasing me. For this answer, Zuan Mingzi sneered without comment, but he did not pursue it too much. Master Li, I will give you some more people. You must catch up with that young man. I want him alive or dead. Li Xiangxiang's heart trembled, knowing that Zuan Mingzi was willing to give her a chance to make up for her mistakes. Yes, protector, I will definitely fulfill my mission. The situation was urgent. In just half a cup of tea, more than 20 Xianlong followers were ready. After Li Xiangxiang gave an order, more than 20 riders left the camp at a high speed. Following the original route, Li Xiangxiang and her group returned to the tea shed at a faster speed than when she escaped. After a simple check, a subordinate immediately reported, "Master, judging from the traces, they are heading towards Songshan." Li Xiangxiang sneered, "They are really ignorant of life and death. Chase them." Xia Changqing and others gradually slowed down. They could bear the long-term high-speed running, but the horses under them could not. Even if the horses died of running, Songshan would not be reached in a moment. It was unknown whether the people of the Xianlong sect had blocked all the people who came to participate in the Young Heroes Conference, or for other reasons, but Xia Changqing and the others had not seen a single person along the way. The silence was so unsettling. However, at this time, they had no way to retreat. If the people of the Xianlong sect were not fools, they would definitely send people to chase them. At this time, they could only move forward without any retreat. Suddenly, Xia Changqing's expression changed. He turned back thoughtfully and looked in the direction of the way they came. "Changqing, what's wrong?" Gu Yuxuan immediately noticed Xia Changqing's abnormality and asked immediately. Xia Changqing turned around and said seriously, "Someone is catching up with us. Get ready for a fight." As soon as Xia Changqing finished speaking, Guan Wei couldn't help but draw his sword in his hand. "Is anyone catching up with us?" He squinted his eyes and looked at the way he came, but he didn't see a single person. "Changqing, you are not mistaken, are you? Someone is catching up with us?" Before Guan Wei finished his questioning words, a black shadow appeared in the distance. Gu Yuxuan and others were as if they were facing a great enemy. Just by looking at the dark shadow, they knew that there were many enemies chasing them. "Prepare to meet the enemy." Gu Yuxuan shouted loudly and immediately looked around, hoping to find a place to resist the enemy. Unfortunately, the official road was flat and there was no place to hide. In the blink of an eye, the people of the Xianlong sect were closer to them. In the distance, Li Xiangxiang also saw the figures of Xia Changqing and others. After spending most of the day, she finally caught up with these people. "Kill them, don't spare any of them." Li Xiangxiang shouted loudly, and with a flick of her hand, she had already pulled out a soft whip from her waist. This was Li Xiangxiang's weapon. Although Zhu and Mingzi ordered her to capture them alive if possible, Li Xiangxiang had witnessed Xia Changqing's swordsmanship with her own eyes. If she held back, she had no confidence that she could capture Xia Changqing alive. Although it would be better to kill them directly, it would also allow the Xianlong believers to have no worries. The Xianlong believers in black responded in unison and drew out their long swords. "Kill!" With the shouts, they were already within 50 steps of Xia Changqing and others. The 50 steps were gone in a flash. Xia Changqing drew his sword and turned around to warn, "Take care of yourselves and don't be impulsive, otherwise I won't be able to take care of you, especially you, Guan Wei." Huh? Guan Wei was stunned and blurted out the question, "Xia Changqing, what do you mean? Tell me clearly." But Xia Changqing seemed to have not heard Guan Wei's words at all. He kicked the stirrups with his feet and suddenly rushed out, following the sword, shooting directly at the Xianlong believers. Li Xiangxiang was the first to notice Xia Changqing, who had taken the initiative. She did not dare to be careless and shouted loudly, "Be careful." Chapter 246 Counterattack. Li Xiangxiang didn't expect that her warning was too late. Before setting off, she had clearly warned them not to be careless. But when they saw Xia Changqing coming up alone, these unruly Xianlong believers still looked down on him. Xia Changqing struck with his sword without regret. In the eyes of the Xianlong believers, they only saw a flash of brilliant sword light, followed by screams one after another. Li Xiangxiang, who was the first to be hit, was lucky to escape the fate of being killed by a sword, because she hid in the horse's belly at the first time. But the Xianlong believers behind her were not so lucky. Xia Changqing stepped on the ground, and there was only the sword light in his hand, but no sword body. When Xia Changqing landed behind the Xianlong believers, 5 or 6 Xianlong believers had already fallen off their horses, covering their necks. The roar of the horses and the roar of the Xianlong believers connected into a tragic scene of people and horses falling. These Xianlong followers were forced to stop before they came to Gu Yuxuan and others. Great swordsmanship. Guan Wei laughed excitedly. He was eager to fight and wanted to rush in and kill. Gu Yuxuan stretched out his hand to stop him. Brother Guan, you'd better not cause trouble for Changqing. Guan Wei's expression was stunned. He was at a loss on the horse. What did he mean by causing trouble? Was he, the young escort leader Guan, so unbearable? Although he was very angry, he couldn't think of any reason to refute. On the other side, Li Xiangxiang grabbed the reins and turned around. She was very sure that, if she wanted to deal with these young people, she had to get rid of the boy with the sword first. Send a few people to deal with those people, and the others, come on, regardless of life or death. Li Xiangxiang pointed at Gu Yuxuan and others, and 5 Xianlong followers immediately separated and killed them. The other Xianlong followers all surrounded Xia Changqing with vigilant expressions. Big brother, we are being underestimated. Guan Wei muttered unhappily. Isn't it a good thing to underestimate you? Don't hold back. If we deal with more people, the pressure on Changqing will be reduced. Don't worry, big brother, just wait and see. Guan Wei raised his knife and slashed at the Xianlong believers who attacked him. Just as Li Xiangxiang led people to surround Xia Changqing, he still looked calm, holding the long sword in front of him, staring at Li Xiangxiang with cold eyes. He had recognized that the woman in front of him was the one who suddenly escaped in the tea shed, but this time, she would definitely not have such good luck. Xia Changqing stretched out his left hand and flicked his fingers on the sword. Clang, the autumn wind was bleak, and the sword intent rose. The sudden sound of the sword made Li Xiangxiang open her eyes wide, and a sense of panic rose in her heart. Because Xia Changqing was no longer in front of her, Li Xiangxiang's ears were filled with the screams of the Xianlong believers. Li Xiangxiang couldn't help but feel dizzy, and her heart was full of disbelief. How could it be possible? How could it be possible? How could the opponent's martial arts be so high? Once again, Li Xiangxiang had the idea of escaping in her heart. Now that the opponent didn't come to deal with her in the first time, she still had a chance to escape. However, even if she escaped now, the Guardian would never tolerate her running away for the second time. For a moment, Li Xiangxiang's heart was in chaos. But Xia Changqing's hands were not in chaos. He shuttled between the Xianlong believers, and the tall horse became his cover. Only shadows could be seen, but no people. For the rest, there was only a flash of sword light flashing continuously. Behind every dazzling sword light, a life was lost. For these people, Xia Changqing didn't feel any shaking in his hands at all. The Xianlong cult was notorious and ambitious. If he was an ambitious person, then joining the Xianlong cult would be his best choice. It's a pity that Xia Changqing doesn't want to have the dream of unifying the world in this world, so the Xianlong sect is his enemy. Since it is an enemy, he needs to eradicate all evil. Although the martial arts of these Xianlong believers are not low, they are not good enough in front of Xia Changqing. After dispersing his power and recultivating, the true energy in his body is more condensed, which allows him to draw his sword faster. Sometimes, his thoughts are slower than the speed of drawing his sword. After he pierced the throat of a Xianlong believer with his sword, the idea of using this move emerged in his mind. This is a completely different feeling from when he was sparring with Wuxiazi in Xiaoyao Valley. Xia Changqing was moving around and constantly drawing his sword, while he could still think about this and that. The sword comes before the mind. This is the sword comes before the mind. Xia Changqing was very sure that his current state was that the sword came first. Just like now, he didn't think about how to attack at all. His body seemed to react on its own. He dodged the knife of the Xianlong cultist, and then the long sword stretched out from an incredible angle. In the horrified eyes of the Xianlong cultist, the tip of the sword gently scratched the opponent's throat. Killing people, it seems so simple. Snap! A crisp and sharp sound suddenly rang in Xia Changqing's ears. From the corner of his eyes, he clearly noticed a black shadow rushing towards him quickly. There was no time to deal with the Xianlong cultist in front of him. Xia Changqing bent his body and narrowly avoided the sudden attack of the black shadow. Bang! After the sound of the black shadow whipping on the ground rang out, Xia Changqing slowly came back to his senses and took the time to pay attention to what attacked him. A soft whip. The whip was held in Li Xiangxiang's hand. After a brief thought, Li Xiangxiang decided to fight to the death, because compared to the fear brought to her by Zhuan Mingzi, attacking Xia Changqing gave her more courage. Just when Xia Changqing's eyes were fixed on the soft whip on the ground, Li Xiangxiang's wrist shook, and the long whip with a sharp spearhead tied to it suddenly jumped up like a lurking poisonous snake. "Look at my golden snake whip method," Li Xiangxiang shouted delicately, and the long whip was really like a golden snake, and the whip head shot directly at Xia Changqing's face. Xia Changqing quickly raised his sword to block, and at the same time he couldn't help complaining in his heart, and he didn't know where he learned this habit from. During the battle, he actually had time to shout out the name of his own moves. Although he was thinking about these messy things in his mind, Xia Changqing's hands did not stop moving. As the saying goes, to catch a snake, you have to catch its 7 inches. To deal with this long whip like a golden snake, you have to find its 7 inches. Xia Changqing put his sword in front of his face to block Li Xiangxiang's attack. Without waiting for the opponent to use any moves, he turned his wrist and slashed down with the sword, trying to chop off the golden snake's head. Chapter 247 Whip like a snake. Xia Changqing slashed down with his sword, and with extraordinary precision, he slashed at the connection between the spearhead and the long whip. Suddenly, the whole long whip seemed to lose its power, and had no power to lift its head, falling to the ground. Just when Xia Changqing was about to make another effort to nail the golden snake to death, Li Xiangxiang's arm shook and quickly retracted the long whip. Xia Changqing was in a dominant position and the long sword that was originally stabbing suddenly changed direction and went straight to Li Xiangxiang. The best defense is offense. At this point, Li Xiangxiang was also angry. When had she, the head of the Xianlang sect, ever been so angry? She sat on the horse's back, looking down from above, waving the long whip, and the snake came out of the hole, moving left and right, and always hitting Xia Changqing in the face. Xia Changqing's expression did not change, and the long sword in his hand flashed, forming a sword curtain in front of him, which could not be splashed with water. Ding ding dang dang. The crisp collision sound was endless, and the advantage of long weapons was fully demonstrated. Li Xiangxiang's long whip was 3 or 4 meters long. If Xia Changqing wanted to get close to her, he had to pass through the attack network formed by the long whip. Strictly speaking, Li Xiangxiang's martial arts were not weak, at least much stronger than those Xianlang believers who were easily killed by Xia Changqing. Otherwise she would not be able to become the head of the Xianlang sect. Facing such a strange weapon as a long whip, Xia Changqing lacked experience in dealing with it. Although Li Xiangxiang was not his opponent, Xia Changqing still had to spend some effort to get close. The long whip was like a snake, specifically aimed at the vital points of Xia Changqing's body. Seeing that the battle situation was deadlocked, Xia Changqing suddenly focused his eyes and used the boxing principle of the wild bull fist in the sword method. This was his attempt to achieve the effect of the Dugun 9 swords. What he never expected was that the wild bull fist he subconsciously used actually allowed him to discover the weakness of Li Xiangxiang's whip that was close to him. As soon as this impression was formed in her mind, Xia Changqing had already extended the sword in his hand, and it met the long whip's path just right. In Li Xiangxiang's opinion, Xia Changqing had skillfully hit the weakness of her moves. However, this impression was abandoned by her after a few seconds, because Li Xiangxiang had discovered that no matter how she attacked, the opponent's long sword could always hit the weak point of the long whip. The golden snake was held at the 7 inches. Would it still be a deterrent to people? Li Xiangxiang suddenly became impatient. At this time, Xia Changqing was not anxious anymore. He waved the long sword in his hand lightly, and he could always use the simplest force to achieve the best result. Li Xiangxiang became more and more anxious as she fought. She could use the long whip as easily as waving her arm, relying on her internal strength. Now that her internal strength was used less and less, she could clearly feel that her whip speed had slowed down a lot. This slowness also successfully gave Xia Changqing an opportunity. He shouted softly, touched the ground with his feet, and rose up directly, stepping lightly on the long whip that Li Xiangxiang had not had time to retract. Like a dragonfly touching the water, Xia Changqing stepped on the long whip several times, and in Li Xiangxiang's shocked and angry eyes, he landed on the horse behind her. He slapped his left hand forward and slapped back the arm that Li Xiangxiang had elbowed. Before Li Xiangxiang could make any more extra movements, Xia Changqing had already put the sword on her neck. "Don't move." Xia Changqing's light shout sounded, and Li Xiangxiang's whole body froze directly. In a flash, before Xia Changqing could make any other moves, the few surviving Xianlong believers turned around and fled after looking at each other. They actually gave up on rescuing Li Xiangxiang, the Hall Master. Xia Changqing's head was full of question marks. He only had one thought in his mind. Was the Xianlong sect's neat escape method inherited from the sect leader? How could it be so neat and clean? The key point was that Li Xiangxiang, the head of the sect, was not angry at all. She leaned against Xia Changqing and couldn't help but sneered. "You'd better let me go quickly. Otherwise, when the Xianlong sect's Dharma protector arrives, I will make you wish you were dead or alive." Huh. Xia Changqing looked at this girl in confusion. He began to doubt whether her brain was broken. Even if he let her go now, it would be impossible to end it peacefully after that Dharma protector arrived. "Brother, I'll chase her." At this moment, a rider passed by Xia Changqing at a high speed. It was Guan Wei. Guan Xiaobiao Tao had already dealt with his opponent. He wanted to see Xia Changqing take all the limelight he could. He was anxious. The few Xianlong sect members who escaped at this time became his target. Xia Changqing helplessly watched the reckless Guan Wei go away. As the saying goes, don't chase after a desperate enemy. Although he believed that the people of the Xianlong sect didn't have the brains to ambush on the road, he couldn't guarantee that such a thing wouldn't happen. "Brother, I'll go with my fourth brother." Dong Fang Weiming was not willing to fall behind and chased Guan Wei. "If you can't catch up, come back quickly. Be careful of an ambush." Gu Yuxuan couldn't help but shout loudly. "I know, brother." Dong Fang Weiming's vague voice gradually disappeared. Gu Yuxuan came to Xia Changqing. He was not very worried about the safety of Guan Wei and Dong Fang Weiming. Although Guan Wei was reckless, he was also very smart. If something went wrong, he would definitely run fast. At the moment, he had more important things to do. Gu Yuxuan frowned at Li Xiangxiang, who was already restrained by Xia Changqing, and asked coldly, "Tell me, what do you Xianlong sect want to do?" Li Xiangxiang sneered and did not answer, which made Xia Changqing unable to help but push his sword forward. The blade was sharp, and Xia Changqing only exerted a little force, and a trace of blood oozed from Li Xiangxiang's neck. "Don't think that I dare not kill you. If you cooperate honestly and tell me all the conspiracy of your Xianlong sect, I can consider whether to let you go." After hearing what Xia Changqing said, Li Xiangxiang's eyes moved, and she became silent for a while. This made Gu Yuxuan, who was standing aside, very keenly observe Li Xiangxiang's heartbeat, and he could not help but continue to persuade. "Girl, you are so young and in your prime. Why do you have to stick to the Xianlong sect? You must know that your own life is your own. Even if the protector you said can avenge you, you will be dead by then. Girl, I only ask you one question. Are you really willing?" Of course she was not willing. Even if Li Xiangxiang didn't say anything, Gu Yuxuan could see what she was really thinking. With a silent smile, Gu Yuxuan knew that he had broken through the other party's defense. There were few people who would never surrender, and in the face of a real death threat, few people would not feel afraid. Chapter 248 Goodbye Zhuan Mingzi. After listening to Li Xiangxiang's answer, Gu Yuxuan felt relieved. Although the Xianlong sect is arrogant, it is not so arrogant as to confront the Shaolin Temple head-on. Although the Xianlong sect's action this time is really to ambush the younger generation of the major sects. If they can be caught, they will be caught, and if they cannot be caught, they will be killed directly. The purpose of striking the major sects is to use the disappearance or death of the younger generation. It was only after knowing this news that Gu Yuxuan became more determined to rush to the Shaolin Temple as soon as possible. Since he now knows about this matter, there is no reason to conceal it. That way, only the power of the Central Plains martial arts will be consumed. Although the major sects in the Central Plains martial arts are also dirty with each other, in the face of the threat of the Xianlong sect, the major sects still need to unite together. You did not wait too long at the original place. Guan Wei and Dong Fang Weiming returned together, but they looked quite embarrassed. Before Gu Yuxuan asked what the reason was, Guan Wei had already shouted anxiously, "Hurry, hurry up, Zuan Mingzi is here." Gu Yuxuan was suddenly shocked. Why is Zuan Mingzi here? He didn't have time to think about this question. Although Zuan Mingzi is their uncle, he will not be merciful if he really meets him. "Changqing, let's go," Gu Yuxuan called out. They had just experienced a battle. Their martial arts were not as good as Zuan Mingzi. Now it was even more impossible to compete with Zuan Mingzi. Ha ha ha. I was wondering which sect's disciples were so powerful. It turned out to be my good nephews. Why, you can't wait to leave, don't you like me, your uncle? Before seeing the person, Xia Changqing and others had already heard Zuan Mingzi's voice transmission. This manifestation of deep internal strength made Gu Yuxuan and others even more frightened. At this time, it was too late to run. In the distance, a black shadow was coming towards them at a very high speed. It was Zuan Mingzi. He came here with King Dang, without touching the ground, and was even faster than riding a horse. Seeing that Zuan Mingzi was already in front of him, Gu Yuxuan gritted his teeth and said quickly, "You go first, I'll cover you." "Big brother, you can't stop Zuan Mingzi by yourself. Why don't we stay together and fight him?" Guan Wei said violently. At this moment, Li Xiangxiang, who was being held hostage, suddenly sneered, "You still want to run now? Don't you think it's too late? I advise you to let me go. If you are in a good mood, I can consider asking for mercy for you." Xia Changqing frowned, somewhat unable to understand the brain circuits of these villains. "Do you believe that before Zuan Mingzi arrives, I can still kill you with one sword? See if Zuan Mingzi can save you." Xia Changqing said coldly, although his tone was calm, but it contained infinite murderous intent. "You." Li Xiangxiang only uttered one word, and after noticing that Xia Changqing's eyes were not joking, she wisely chose to shut up. To be honest, the reason why he didn't choose to kill Li Xiangxiang at the first time was because of the promise he made just now. If Li Xiangxiang still didn't realize it, then Xia Changqing wouldn't mind killing her with a sword. Xia Changqing pointed out as fast as lightning, tapping Li Xiangxiang's body several times and pressing her acupoints. With her murderous eyes, Xia Changqing said to Shen Xiangyan, "Xiangyan, she is handed over to you. If she has any unusual movements, don't be soft-hearted, just kill her." Shen Xiangyan is not a weak lady. She nodded obediently, holding a small dagger in her hand, and placed the dagger across Li Xiangxiang's neck. Turning his head, Xia Changqing looked at Gu Yuxuan. "Don't say anything about staying alone to stop Zuan Mingzi. To be honest, you are no match for Zuan Mingzi. You can't stop him for too long. We will be defeated by him one by one." Yes, Changqing is right. Although Zuan Mingzi is powerful, our brothers are not famous for nothing. Let him come. Although Guan Wei's slogans were loud, Xia Changqing could still hear the taste of being fierce but weak. Xia Changqing smiled secretly and shook his head. Compared with the nervousness of Gu Yuxuan and others, Xia Changqing was not too scared. It is true that Zuan Mingzi is their uncle, but martial arts cannot be compared by seniority. Last time at the entrance of Xiaoyao Valley, Xia Changqing was able to fight back and forth with Zuan Mingzi. Now that so much time has passed, he has dispersed his power and retrained, and his strength has reached a higher level than before. Now facing Zuan Mingzi again, Xia Changqing felt a sense of excitement in his heart. He wanted to use Zuan Mingzi to test how good his martial arts skills were now. Before Guan Wei finished speaking, Zuan Mingzi had already come to Xia Changqing and others. "You arrogant boy, is this how my senior brother taught you?" Zuan Mingzi stood with his hands behind his back. Although he was just standing on the ground, while Xia Changqing and others were riding on horses, in their eyes, they needed to look up at Zuan Mingzi. Obviously, Guan Wei's words just now had been heard by Zuan Mingzi. At this time, Guan Wei was stammering and speechless after being glared at by Zuan Mingzi's sinister eyes. Killing aura is a very mysterious aura. Some people may say that if you have many lives on your hands, killing aura will naturally appear around you. Xia Changqing didn't know if there was killing aura around his body, but now he clearly felt the killing aura emanating from Zuan Mingzi. The murderous aura accumulated by this old monster is so shocking. Although Guan Wei has been traveling around since he was a child, he has never seen a person like Zuan Mingzi. Under the shock of Zhu Enming's murderous aura, Dan Fang Weiming was even more unbearable. Gu Yuxuan was able to sit up straight on the horse's back and compete with the murderous aura emanating from Zhu Enmingzi. Zhu Enmingzi looked at Gu Yuxuan with some admiration. In fact, he had long been optimistic about Gu Yuxuan, the eldest disciple of his senior brother. However, Xia Changqing's performance surprised Zhu Enmingzi even more. This made him think of the last time he went to Xiaoyao Valley. It was this kid who found his traces at the entrance of the valley and caused him a little internal injury. If they meet again this time, there will be no Wuxiazi, who is good at seeing things, to mess up the situation. Zhu Enmingzi looked at Xia Changqing with ill intentions, thinking secretly in his heart, ha ha ha. Zhu Enmingzi suddenly laughed out loud. My fellow nephews, you have seen me, your uncle, and why don't you quickly dismount and pay your respects? Is this how your master taught you to treat your elders? You have no respect for your elders. Why don't you get off your horse right away? Chapter 249. Qi protects the body. Zhu Enmingzi was clearly trying to show them a warning. If they were weaker, some of them might have dismounted to pay respect to Zhu Enmingzi. Unfortunately, Zhu Enmingzi was disappointed. Regardless of their martial arts skills, Guan Wei and Dan Fang Weiming were much stronger than ordinary people in terms of determination. Gu Yuxuan sat on the horse and spoke on behalf of Xia Changqing and others. If Uncle Master was still from our Xiaoyao Valley, then we nephews would definitely kowtow to you. But now the one standing in front of us is Zhu Enmingzi, the guardian of the Xianlang sect. We are disciples of the righteous Xiaoyao Valley and have no reason to pay respect to the people of the Xianlang sect. After saying this, Guan Wei and Dan Fang Weiming cheered in their hearts. They could lose the battle, but not the battle. Maybe they could not escape this disaster today, but they could not lose in momentum. But, you have backbone. Zhu Enmingzi sneered, but he was not angry. He looked around and swept his eyes over the faces of Xia Changqing and the other four. Since you are all my nephews, I can spare your lives if you dismount and surrender now. When you follow me to join the Xianlang sect and unify the martial arts world, you can also eat delicious food and drink spicy drinks. What a poor argument. Do you really think that the Xianlang sect can unify the martial arts world? Xia Changqing said with a ruthless sarcasm. Zhu Enmingzi narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at Xia Changqing with murderous intent. Boy, do you know that I have been enduring you for a long time? Don't refuse the toast and drink a penalty. Zhu Enmingzi said slowly word by word. His patience was about to run out. Coincidentally, at this moment, the Xianlang sect members who came with Zhu Enmingzi finally arrived late and surrounded Xia Changqing and others on horseback. Look, you guys, it's definitely not possible to run away today. There's still a chance to surrender now. My patience is limited. Don't waste my kindness. Zhu Enmingzi waited for a moment and persuaded again. He thought he had done his best. If these nephews were still stubborn, don't blame him for being merciless. After hearing Zhu Enmingzi's ultimatum, Xia Changqing and the other three looked at each other. Their eyes were full of determination. With a serious expression, Xia Changqing had already taken the initiative. He wanted to try to see how big the gap between him and Zhu Enmingzi was. Amid the clanging sound of the sword in Xia Changqing's hand shot straight at Zhu Enmingzi at an incredible speed. In the eyes of Gu Yuxuan and others, they could only see that Xia Changqing seemed to have turned into a phantom and suddenly appeared in front of Zhu Enmingzi from the back of the horse. Zhu Enmingzi's face changed slightly, and he shouted softly, and his palm slapped forward continuously, pushing the invisible force towards Xia Changqing. The speed of Xia Changqing's long sword suddenly slowed down, and the tip of the sword seemed to be stuck in a quagmire, with a feeling of stagnation. In a flash, Xia Changqing lightly touched the void in front of him with the long sword in his hand. With the help of the reverse push of the force, the whole person flew over Zhu Enmingzi's head like a spiral. Swish! Xia Changqing made a sword flower with his hand and used 1,000-pound weight. The whole person fell headfirst with the help of gravity. Of course, the tip of the sword was facing down. When Zhu Enmingzi looked up, Xia Changqing's sword tip was already aimed at his face. Good boy. Zhu Enmingzi was shocked and angry. If it were an ordinary Xianlang believer, he would really not be able to react. Xia Changqing's series of actions seemed slow, but actually happened in an instant. In this instant, Xia Changqing had already changed many moves. Zhuan Mingzi had no time to dodge at this time. He lowered his waist and dismounted, sank his ki into his danshan, raised his palms high, and struck upwards with the momentum of holding a tower. The characteristic of master seems to be the release of true ki. Under Zhuan Mingzi's palm, the invisible palm force was immediately fired. At this time, Xia Changqing's longsword was too late to pierce Zhuan Mingzi. If he didn't stop, he would be injured by Zhuan Mingzi's palm power. Xia Changqing had no place to borrow strength in midair, so he twisted his body strangely and jumped behind Zhuan Mingzi. Zhuan Mingzi's invisible palm power brushed past Xia Changqing, and he even felt the wind brought by the edge of the invisible palm power. After Xia Changqing landed, he immediately stepped back a few steps to prevent Zhuan Mingzi from taking the opportunity to attack. However, Zhuan Mingzi did not attack when Xia Changqing landed unsteadily, but stood there with his hands behind his back, with the demeanor of master. What a handsome swordsmanship, boy, you are very good. I can see at a glance that you are a talent. I can give you another chance. Xia Changqing pursed his lips and said nothing, but just raised his long sword horizontally, with the tip of the sword pointed at Zhuan Mingzi. This made Zhuan Mingzi's face change, and anger flashed away. If you don't accept my toast, you'll be punished. Zhuan Mingzi shouted angrily, and suddenly moved. In the blink of an eye, he came to Xia Changqing and slapped him with the palm. The palm shadows were so heavy that it was difficult to tell whether they were real or fake. However, in Xia Changqing's opinion, these palm shadows were real. As long as they were touched by them, their skin and flesh would be torn apart. Xia Changqing tapped his feet and retreated quickly. He waved his long sword in front of him, constantly offsetting the palm shadows shot by Zhuan Mingzi. The sound of ding dong dong was endless. Zhuan Mingzi was clearly fighting Xia Changqing with a pair of flesh palms, but it made a sound of metal hitting metal. Xia Changqing and Zhuan Mingzi had already become a shadow. Wherever they went, the Xianlang believers hurriedly pushed them away. Those who were a little slower to move away were unfortunately involved in the battle, and were either killed or injured. Gu Yuxuan and others were dazzled by the sight, and were shocked by Xia Changqing's martial arts. They only felt that Xia Changqing was very powerful before, but they didn't know how powerful he was. Today, it is clear that, even if he fights with Zhuan Mingzi, Xia Changqing will not lose. Unfortunately, Xia Changqing, who is in the battle, does not think so. In fact, he has not learned any advanced swordsmanship. He can fight Zhuan Mingzi on equal terms, relying entirely on the word speed. When his sword is so fast that Zhuan Mingzi can hardly block it, even ordinary swordsmanship has the magic power to turn decay into magic. However, Zhuan Mingzi's internal strength is really deep. When he releases his true energy, it constantly collides with Xia Changqing's long sword. In the fierce battle, although Zhuan Mingzi's true energy has been consumed a lot, the long sword in Xia Changqing's hand is already full of cracks. Crack. Xia Changqing heard a crisp cracking sound. In a flash, he had already seen that the sword was full of cracks. After all, the long sword in his hand was not a peerless sword. On the one hand, it had to withstand the infusion of Xia Changqing's true energy, and on the other hand, it was constantly hit by Zhuan Mingzi's palm power. It could not bear it long ago. Crack, crack. Xia Changqing's sword broke. Chapter 250, No Way Out. Originally, Xia Changqing's sword could still hold out for a while, but holding a long sword that could break at any time, fighting against a master like Zhuan Mingzi, was no different from not holding it. So Xia Changqing made the most of the long sword. He took the initiative to break the long sword, and the entire sword body was broken into tiny fragments. Xia Changqing threw away the bare hilt and clapped his hands in front of him. The sky full of sword body fragments shot towards Zhuan Mingzi, and each fragment was entangled with Xia Changqing's true energy. Zhuan Mingzi was suddenly startled and did not dare to hesitate. Layers of green appeared on his palms, and a fishy and sweet smell overflowed. He grabbed his palms from top to bottom, and suddenly a gloomy and terrifying ghost claw appeared in the air. The ghost claw was terrifying, carrying the malice that seemed to come from the depths of hell, and grabbed the fragments. Bang, bang, bang. The dull sound continued to come, and the sword body fragments flew on the ghost claws of the netherworld, as if colliding with steel. The fragments of the sword fell to the ground weakly. Even so, they penetrated 3 feet into the ground and shot out small holes on the ground. What a vicious mind. Zuan Mingzi shouted angrily. If these fragments of the sword were to hit him, wouldn't his body be shot into a sieve in the blink of an eye? A question mark seemed to slowly appear on Xia Changqing's head. He really didn't know how Zuan Mingzi, a guardian of the Xianlang sect, could say that he had a vicious mind. However, Xia Changqing stepped on the carefree steps and came to Zuan Mingzi's side in the blink of an eye. He used the wild bull fist and hammered Zuan Mingzi's chest at an incredible angle. Boy, you are looking for death. Zuan Mingzi grabbed Xia Changqing's arm with his claws, and his fingers were green, just like the claws of ghosts from the Netherworld. Xia Changqing's eyes flashed with a trace of ruthlessness. He ignored the claws of Zuan Mingzi grabbing him and punched Zuan Mingzi in the chest. Puff. Zuan Mingzi retreated quickly and felt a splitting pain in his chest. A mouthful of blood spit out from his mouth, turning into a sharp sword, shooting straight at Xia Changqing's face. Swish. Xia Changqing tried his best to dodge, but still failed to completely avoid the blood arrow, causing a wound to slowly appear on his face. However, the more serious injury was on his arm. Although Xia Changqing hit Zuan Mingzi with a punch, his arm was also caught by Zuan Mingzi's ghost claw. Scattered strips of cloth were draped over his arm alone, and 3 wounds with black gas and deep visible bones were constantly oozing black blood. What made Xia Changqing even more worried was that he did not feel much pain from the wound on his arm, but a slight numbness, which was a sign of being poisoned. His left hand quickly tapped on the injured right arm several times, stopping the spread of the poison. The physique that is different from that of ordinary people also brings Xia Changqing toxic antibodies that ordinary people do not have. Even without treatment, the wound on his arm can slowly heal after the poison is eliminated. This is the confidence of Xia Changqing to fight to the death. This punch of his is not so easy to bear. Uncle, do you want to fight again? Xia Changqing shook his arm. At this time, the bleeding on his arm had stopped, and the black wound was slowly turning into flesh color. Zuan Mingzi couldn't help but narrow his eyes slightly. He didn't expect Xia Changqing to get rid of the injury so quickly, but if he was asked to retreat at this point, it would be impossible. Go, capture them alive. Zuan Mingzi's body suddenly flew into the air, and in a blink of an eye, he crossed the air and sat on the horse's back and directly ordered the Xianlang believers around him. Yes. The Xianlang believers shouted in unison, raised their knives and slowly surrounded him. Gu Yuxuan and others also came to Xia Changqing's side. Several people stood with their backs to each other, and Shen Xiangyan was in the middle, forming a situation of mutual assistance. Kill. Suddenly, a Xianlang believer shouted loudly and raised his knife to chop Xia Changqing's head. He was not stupid, because Xia Changqing had been injured by Zuan Mingzi, so he thought Xia Changqing was easier to bully. Too slow. Xia Changqing even had the leisure to evaluate the attack of the Xianlang believer, and then he punching the head of the horse under the Xianlang believer. Amid the neighing of the horse, the Xianlang believer's knife did not fall on Xia Changqing's body, and he was overturned to the ground. Xia Changqing stepped forward and kicked the Xianlang believer in the neck. The opponent's head tilted and died immediately. As the Xianlang believer began to attack, others also raised their knives and stepped forward. Suddenly, Guan Wei and Dongfang Weiming were both in a bitter battle. Only Gu Yuxuan was still at ease and even had time to help the other two. But even so, the number of Xianlang followers was too large. Under the siege, they would sooner or later run out of internal energy and die on the spot. Big brother, Changqing, think of a way. I can't hold on any longer. Guan Wei gritted his teeth and said he felt that he had become a puppet who only knew how to swing a knife, swinging the knife until he was numb. Gu Yuxuan smiled bitterly. At this point, what else could he do? It's me who harmed you. If I hadn't insisted on going to Sangshan, maybe we wouldn't have met Zuan Mingzi. Shut up, big brother. What are you saying to discourage us? Going to Sangshan is something we all agreed to do. No one expected that Zuan Mingzi, the old immortal, would chase us in person. Now the most important thing is to find a way to leave. Guan Wei shouted angrily. He was already injured, and his energy was too much. At this time, Dongfang Weiming had no strength to speak. He could only purse his lips tightly and concentrate on fighting the enemy. Xia Changqing hesitated a little. He was thinking about whether to expose his magic ability and take Gu Yuxuan and others to kill. Although it was difficult to stand, it was not the end of the road. Xia Changqing had just finished thinking when he saw Zhu and Mingzi suddenly join the battle. With just one palm strike, Gu Yuxuan took a step back and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Well, he took back his previous thoughts. Now he really had reached the end of the road. At this point, he could not care about whether to expose the magic or not. Survival was the right thing to do. The shadow under Xia Changqing suddenly shook, and the tentacles composed of shadows scattered out. However, at this moment, his heart suddenly moved, and he quickly retracted the shadow. Roar. A roar suddenly came from a distance, and the roar shook people's hearts, making Xia Changqing's head a little confused. Not to mention those Xianlang believers whose martial arts were not as good as his. These people seemed to be drunk under this roar. Their bodies swayed, and some even fell off their horses. The roar of the Buddhist lion. Zhu and Mingzi said in shock and anger. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.